Hello, and welcome to episode 208 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo, with me forever and always, the man, the myth, the colonizer, Alessandro BiolsiToot-length. Say hello, Al.
How is never as important as why.
On this week's episode, Disney's restraint and Star Wars movie rumblings, Super Pig consumption, and other musings, all before diving into our flick of the week, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And don't forget to tune in after the credits for the last word on The Last of Us, which is generally 1 to 2 episodes behind.
I mean, we didn't miss any weeks, but this will release after the next episodes come out.
I'm gonna I really want to try to produce it and push it out tomorrow, so that I can get myself back ahead of.
Yeah, I mean, we used to do it on Fridays. We used to record Tuesday or Wednesday and push it out Fridays. If you're going to commit to doing it, I will endeavor to get the. Well, this is a rare Thursday recording, but I will endeavor to get the card done for you in time. So, also for the record, I've never colonized shit.
This show is blasphemous. All right, we're gonna try. We're gonna try to legit have it out sooner rather than later. Don't forget, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flix6@thespintune.com or toot us at thespintune. I'm sticking with it. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Newburgh Brewing Company's Bridge Boss, which is a collaboration with Industrial Arts. This is like a very Two Towers type of thing, because one resides in the city of Beacon, the other, well, half of it resides in the city of... Sorry. One of them, half of the brewery resides in the city of Beacon. The other one resides in the city of Newburgh. They stare right across the bridge from each other, which is cool.
Nice.
This is brewed and canned at Newburgh Brewing Company at 88 South Colden Street, Newburgh, New York.
This
got this heart
here.
And half of it's a beer. I don't know if you've ever noticed that before. We've had a few Newburghs.
That's a really great logo.
It is. It's original, inventive. Never seen anything like it before. This was
this Industrial Arts logo has a smokestack, and then these molecules make up the smoke coming out of that smokestack. And
one of them's a hop, and the other one is a microscope, and then there's like a beer, and there's a...
That beer vat thing?
Yeah.
And
fermenter.
And a scraper? I don't know. Or a factory?
One of those things looks
unclear.
One of those looks like the distilling bell type of thing.
The distilling what?
Like a bell or a vessel, yeah. It's big circle. Big sphere. Sphere, that's the word I'm looking for.
Sphere. It's bold.
We kick off our 2022 Boss Collab series with our friends at Industrial Arts Brewing. Their 4th Boss Collab with us. From our brewery to theirs, you gotta cross the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, unless you plan on swimming across the Hudson River. Think New York. Drink New York.
Unless you plan on swimming across the Hudson River. It's got an exclamation point at the end.
It does.
I think it's important.
It's a berry double IPA. Literally a New England IPA with strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries. So that's what the chunks you were drinking were. It also explains the color, which does have a light pinkish hue to it. I'm disappointed that you're not drinking your Newburgh beer out of your Newburgh glass. I am drinking my Newburgh beer out of my Newburgh glass.
In my defense, isn't the Newburgh glass a pint glass?
Yes.
Somebody fucked up, because this is just gonna overflow. There's gonna be a little bit.
It's true. I didn't get every drop of it into this one. It's 8%.
Talk to your people.
It's 8% alcohol by volume. It came in a pint,
18-ounce pint glass,
in the aforementioned pint. So
you gotta love the pint. I love this little robot dude. He's got a hop in his chest. He's holding a wrench.
Yes,
this is great.
As you may know,
the Clearys and the Lodges here. There's 2 great families coming together.
2 great American families coming together. It's great. They have the obviously the Industrial Arts wrench series, so it's nice. They their trademark hexagons on the front as they have on all their beers.
Love it. This is like the artwork on this can is actually a really, really great collab artwork.
Yeah, absolutely. It does a great job of synergizing the two brands. Plus, it's got the actual bridge in the background as well atop the river.
I don't know what is going on with the word boss though. It's like it was trying to be like those block letters, but somebody got confused. It's like when you're trying to do them for the first time.
It's a little out of phase, is what it is.
Yeah. Interesting.
You want to drink this beer?
I'm ready to try this.
Cheers.
Tinny. Not nearly as chunky as it was before I put it through the strainer.
It definitely smells like berries.
Whipped cream or berries? Can you name that movie, Al?
No, I cannot, actually.
It's Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
When he has the breakfast or whatever? Oh, it's the big guy who helps him, has him come kill the pig.
You look like a giant baby.
I'm sorry.
This is nice. This doesn't... There's something really nice about all of that fruit and the little bit of bitterness. Like, it's nothing is overwhelming.
It's refreshing. It's when you take a sip with all that fruit, you kind of expect it to be like a sour, and it's not. So that's kind of
it definitely tricks you at the beginning, like because it definitely does taste almost like it's going to be that.
Yes.
Yeah, this is nice, slimy, yet
satisfying.
Oh man, 8%. This is nice. I'm not sure where I stand on this one. I'm going to go 2 thuckles just on account of I don't like the chunkiness. And I put it through a strainer.
You know what it was? Is you poured at the bottom. You shouldn't have poured it because I tried to top off a little bit of the beer.
Oh,
I got chunks. It's just the fruit sediment.
I shouldn't have done that. But, I mean, it tastes delicious. It's just that when all of that sediment gets in there, it throws the texture off something awful.
Yeah, right before you left... And then I talked shit into your ear about the beer and about how you were going to be okay. You were like, if I get the scratchy throat thing, I'm just going to be done. It's going to be over.
That happened to me. There was one episode we do. You probably, I don't remember which one it was, but there was a beer that had something very similar to this. And it was killing me. Like, I kept muting and coughing.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
But this is delicious, though. So
I'm glad you like it.
I'm a fan. I mean, I'm always a fan. I'm always a fan of the Newburgh beers you bring me. I'm always a fan of industrial arts. I don't think I maybe only have like one that is like I wouldn't have again, and it was probably just because it was like a triple or it was just too alcoholic-y. Like it was too much.
From industrial arts?
Yeah, it was too boozy.
I don't remember. I know I've had a bunch of them, but
it was up there. But they're solid.
Yeah.
Oh, all around. Where are you vis-a-vis the thuckles?
I think I'm gonna go 2 on this one. 2. I like that this
right.
was a little bit of a different thing. It doesn't quite 100% live up to the standard of some of my most beloved Newburgh beers, but definitely a solid entry.
Yeah, for sure. Right on. Good on you. How old is this one, Al? This one's probably more recent.
You bastards. Probably about a year.
Oh, yeah, 1 year. It says it right there. It actually says on the bottom of the can, 1 year old. We know.
Someday in the future. So it used to be a joke that I appreciated. You're an asshole. It used to be a joke that I appreciated where it's like, oh, one day Elon Musk will do X. And before you just did the Lion King joke, and it reminded me, I heard someone was complaining, on one of the shows I was listening to in the last couple of days about like the fact that like Twitter, when you went on Twitter, you used to be able to see the tweets that the people you follow tweet, sure. And like you can't anymore, and like you have to actively like get to the following tab.
Yeah,
and that person referenced a joke that's been going around on Twitter the last few days that Elon Musk is Scar from Lion King, where. When Scar takes over Pride Rock and it immediately falls apart and no one who's still there wants to be there, but they also can't leave. And even he hates it, but like he's got it now. Like he got control the way he wanted to, but he doesn't want it, but he has it. And like that's what Twitter and Elon is. It's Scar and Pride Rock.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. It's true. I mean, that's a really good description. Yeah, I'm not on there anymore. I'm gone. I get the links that you send me.
Yeah, I was trying to tell you forever, man. He's just he's not. He's a charlatan. That's what he is. He always was.
He's what?
A charlatan.
Yeah. It's just you get on the Mastodon.
What?
Mastodon train.
To this point, what I'm on Twitter for is still what I always started being on Twitter for. It's an invaluable tool for a sports fan. It is. Even through all the bullshit. And it definitely makes it worse, the way all the bullshit that's gone on in the last 6 months. But it still is a valuable resource to keep track of like all of the reporting and conversation surrounding teams and leagues that you're a fan of. It's a fantastic resource for sports fans.
Sure. They'll move eventually, hopefully.
Yeah, but until that point, I'm still going to be. I mean, I already have. I never was a big person to like do actual tweets myself, so
I don't do Twitter.
Yeah, I don't. I use it as basically what like a web slice gallery was 15 years ago. Like that's what Twitter is for me, but it's just a cultivated feed of sports news that I seek out, and sports entertainment, because I a lot of what I bring for news and nuggets on the show I've culled from Twitter sources. I mean, like a lot of the funny, stupid things, including one of the ones we're going to do in 5 minutes, comes from there. So,
speaking of, I think it's time to get into some news and nuggets. You might as well start off with Super Pig, because I assume
that one came from Twitter. Yeah, absolutely. So, faithful listeners of the podcast, and Anthony, who co-hosts this podcast with me, hopefully you'll recall sometime last year we did a story about hogs in Italy. Remember, in an Italian city? I
do.
Okay.
I don't remember the specifics.
You don't have to. Just remember they've been getting out of hand. Yeah, it's just, just aggressive pigs getting out of hand.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This is coming back to it.
So, this was a story on The Guardian from, when are you from? Monday, February 20th, 2023. Incredibly intelligent, highly elusive, U.S. faces new threat from Canadian super pig. Northern states
highly elusive.
Yes.
Super pig.
Northern states on alert for invasion of crossbred pig that threatens flora and fauna, and it is difficult to stop. For decades, wild pigs have been antagonizing flora and fauna in the U.S., gobbling up crops, spreading disease, and even killing deer and elk. Now, as fears over the potential of the pig impact in the U.S. grow, North America is also facing a new swine-related threat as a Canadian super pig, a giant, incredibly intelligent, highly elusive beast capable of surviving cold climates by tunneling under snow.
Hang on.
You gotta let me finish sentences, man.
No. Pause right there, because was the highly elusive part of the subtitle before, or was that part of? Okay, all right. I don't know. I don't have what you have in front of me, so I'm a little concerned that this whole thing is written by AI.
Do you want me to send it to you so you can follow along?
Please.
All right.
I put it over there. Oh, God. Incredibly intelligent. Highly. All right.
Okay. A beast capable of surviving cold climates by tunneling under snow is poised to infiltrate the north of the country. The emergence of the so-called super pig, a result of crossbreeding domestic pigs with wild boars, only adds to the problems the U.S. faces from the swine invasion. Pigs are not native to the U.S., but have wrought havoc in recent decades. The government estimates the country's approximately 6 million wild or feral pigs cause $1.5 billion of damage each year. In parts of the country, the pig's prevalence has sparked the whole hog hunting industry, where people pay thousands of dollars to mow down boar and sow with machine guns. But overall, the impact of the pigs, first introduced to the U.S. in the 16th century, has very much been a negative, as the undiscerning swine has chopped its way across the country.
This writing is too much.
It's fantastic, which is why I'm trying to give it my best, serious newscaster voice. We see direct competition for our native species for food, said Michael Marlowe, assistant program manager for the Department of Agriculture's National Feral Swine Damage Management Program.
That shouldn't be a department.
Well, You could say that, or you could say, oh god, it's worse than we thought that the department of such a name exists.
Ron Swanson would be appalled.
Pigs are also accomplished predators. They'll opportunistically come upon a hidden animal, and the males have long tusks, so they're very capable of running and grabbing one with their mouth. They'll kill young fawns. They're known to be able to nest predators, so they impact turkeys and potentially quail. The wild pigs are also responsible for a laundry list of environmental damages, ranging from eating innocent farmers' crops to destroying trees and polluting water. They also pose a human health and safety risk. A pig is a mixing vessel, capable of carrying viruses.
I don't like that phrase.
Capable of carrying viruses such as flu, which are transmittable to humans. National Geographic reported that pigs have the potential to create a novel influenza virus, which could spread to humankind.
Did
the first record of...
Wasn't there a
swine flu was a thing 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think Kim had that.
I was lucky to escape it. It was like between the end of my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college. Like that whole year, it was pretty prevalent. The first record of pigs in the continental U.S. was in 1539, when the Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto landed in Florida with an entourage which included 13 swine. During the 4-year expedition...
If they were brought here in 1539, at what point did they become native?
Never. They're never native. They were invasive. They were brought here. During the 4-year...
they've earned their place.
Well, too much place, maybe.
Sure.
During the 4-year expedition, which saw De Soto order the slaughter of thousands of Native Americans, declare himself, quote, an immortal, another quote, son of the sun, close all quotes, and then die of a fever, the number of pigs grew to about 700, spread across what is now the southeastern U.S.
What is that? Hang on, I lost the thread on that paragraph.
Well, you've got it. Do you want me to read it again, or would you like to?
I'm good. You keep going.
Okay. Yeah, he had a god complex. Literally, he thought he was the son of the sun.
Sure.
He was the one looking for
the son of the sun.
He was the one looking for the lost. Yes, he was one of the ones looking for the lost city of gold in the U.S. But it's only relatively recently that the pigs have become a problem. They lived a benign existence up until, probably 3 or 4 decades ago, where we started seeing these rapid excursions in areas we hadn't seen before. Primarily, that was the cause of intentional releases of swine by people who wanted to develop hunting populations. They were drugged and moved around, not always legally, and dropped in areas to allow the populations to develop. And so that's where we saw this rapid increase. The number of pigs in the U.S. has grown to more than 6 million in some 34 states. The pigs weigh between 75 and 250 pounds on average, but can weigh in twice as large as that, according to the USDA. At 3 feet tall and 5 feet long, they are a considerable foe.
Just give me something for the pain and let me die.
Marlowe said his team had managed to eradicate pigs in 7 states over the past decade, but with little realistic hope of getting rid of the swine completely. There are also fears over the potential impact of pig-borne disease, particularly African swine fever. The disease is always...
our new swine overlords.
That's the way we're headed. The disease is always fatal to pigs.
It was already
China,
one in the White House. Go on.
Wow. The disease is always fatal to pigs. And in China, which is home to more than 400 million pigs, half of the world's pig population, African swine fever wiped out more than 30% of the pig population in 2018 and 2019.
That's a devastating amount.
Yes. Yes, it is. African swine fever has presented in Europe too, but Marlowe said it had not yet been detected in the Americas. That's something that Ryan Brook, who leads the University of Saskatchewan's Canadian Wild Pig Research Project, hopes to maintain. In Canada... In Canada...
That's a daily thing? Like, your job, like, your research, like, this is what you do?
Yes.
Woof.
In Canada, like in the US, wild pigs are a relatively recent problem. Up until 2002, there was barely any wild pigs in the country, but Brooks said that the population has exploded in the past 8 years. The animals are now spread across 1 million square kilometers of Canada, predominantly in Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. Wild pigs are easily the worst invasive large mammal on the planet. They're incredibly intelligent, they're highly elusive, and also when and also when there's any pressure on them, especially if people start hunting them, they become almost completely nocturnal, They become very elusive.
I swear to God, like what?
They hide in heavy forest cover and they disappear into wetlands, and they can be very hard to locate. Which I think
just picturing one of them backing
elusive.
slowly into the bush,
like Homer in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Brooke and
but
others
it's also got camo across its eyes, like Arnold in Commando.
Oh wow! Brooke and others are particularly troubled by the emergence of a, quote, super pig, created by farmers crossbreeding wild boar and domestic pigs in the 1980s. The result was a larger swine, which produced more meat and was easier for people to shoot in Canadian hunting reserves. These pigs escaped captivity and swiftly spread across Canada, with the super pig proving to be an incredibly proficient breeder.
This is it, Al. This is the article. Because everybody's worried about machines and AI, and here we are learning that since the 80s, we've been super breeding pigs. They're just going to kill us all. We're all going to be staring at the computer, and they're just going to come out of the woodwork.
Oh, wait.
Sorry, they're going to come out of the woodworm.
Its giant size, one pig has been clocked at more than 300 kilograms, 660 pounds, makes it able to survive the frigid Western Canada winters where the wind chill can be negative 50 degrees Celsius.
Don't you clock something as a time measurement?
Typically, although clocked has become a more generic term for any measurement sometimes, yes.
Yeah, that seems like a mistake.
All the experts said at that time, well, no worries, if a wild pig or wild boar ever escaped from a farm, there's no way it could survive a Western Canadian winter. It would just freeze to death. Well, it turns out that being big is a huge advantage to surviving in the cold. I'm Exhibit A of that. The pigs survive extreme weather by tunneling up to 2 meters under snow, creating a snow cave. They'll use their razor-sharp tusks to cut down cattails and line the bottom of the cave with cattails as a nice warm insulating layer. And in fact, they're so warm inside that one of the ways we used to find these pigs is to fly first thing in the morning when it's really cold, colder than negative 30 degrees. You'll actually see steam just pouring out of the top of the snow.
This is terrifying.
Given the damages that the pigs have wrought, a range of attempts have been made to get rid of them. Scientists and researchers in the US and Canada have had some success with catching whole sounders of pigs in big traps, while in the US, attempts have been made, sometimes unsuccessfully, at poisoning wild pigs. One method that has worked in the US is the use of a Judas pig. A lone pig is captured and fitted with a GPS collar and then released into the wild, where hopefully it will join a group of unsuspecting swine. The idea is that you go and find that collared animal, remove any pigs that are with it in an ideal world, then let it go again, and it will continue to find more and more pigs.
It's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you're going to name something the Judas pig, things aren't great.
Yeah.
Brooke said a variety of methods are required to tackle the pig problem, but the efforts are more about managing the damage caused by these non-native mammals, rather than getting rid of the pigs completely. In Canada, that chance is gone. Probably as late as maybe as 2010 to 2012, there was probably a reasonable chance of finding and removing them. But now they're so widespread and abundant that certainly as late as 2018 or 19, I stopped seeing that eradication.
The pigs are going to drive the Canadians out. This is insane.
Possible. They're just so established. They've definitely moved in, and they're here to stay.
Wow, that's a bit. This is from the Guardian's swine correspondent, I imagine.
Yeah, swine correspondent in chief. Yeah,
chief swine correspondent on the scene. It appears the Judas pig has alerted the other swine to our plan.
Senior swine correspondent.
That is intense. I gotta say, I did not expect to start today off with this much information.
Well, there's more. An addendum to this story. So,
of course, there is.
Do you remember in the before times of Twitter? I'm hearkening back to the summer of 2019. Now, I don't have any interest in getting into a political or sociological debate about guns. I'm just going to read a tweet about guns and gun control.
Sure.
And the follow-up tweet, which became a legendary viral tweet. So the first tweet was from Jason Isbell, who is a country singer. And it says, if you're on here arguing the definition of, quote, assault weapon today, you're part of the problem. This was after one of the big mass shootings. I don't remember which one, and that's part of the problem. You know what an assault weapon is, and you know you don't need one. Response to that from Willie McNabb was, Legit question for rural Americans. How do I kill the 30 to 50 feral hogs that run into my yard within 3 to 5 minutes while my small
This
kids
guy knew!
Do you remember that tweet? Were you still on Twitter when that one went viral? Because
No.
that was a whole... that I remember when this one went viral. Like, sometimes you become aware of one that becomes like kind of re-viral or that's become a meme. I remember this happening in real time. It's fucking hysterical. The amount of 30 to 50 feral hogs jokes that was going on in like just the daily discourse after this tweet.
Oh my gosh. That is absurd. I can't. This is too much information on pigs in one sitting.
The more you learn.
I mean, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
There's so many dangers. The night is dark and full of terrors.
And pigs.
They're the terrors.
Well, I'm just saying that the terrors are not exclusively pig-related, but they're certainly one of them. Maybe chief among them.
I always, Elio loves when you do the little piggies, but now I'm going to have to tell him the truth. This little piggy's a super pig, and it's going to murder you.
Is that what so don't you, when you do the little piggies, don't you start with the big toe and work to the pinky?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to have to do for modern society. We're going to have to start with the pinky and end with the big toe.
No, the first
this little piggy,
pig, and he leads you to the other foot.
Jesus Christ! This is going to get dystopic and terrifying. And this little piggy isn't a little piggy at all. It's a super pig, and it's coming to kill you and your children.
And then we lead right into Ring Around the Rosie,
which is about the plague.
Yeah. Just all the horrible things we do with children. Oh my goodness.
Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. It's about a supernova that destroyed an advanced civilization of...
So today, we brought Elio to a nursery school for a single half day. We were thinking about doing it one day a week just to give him something different to do, and did not realize the live feed that I was going to be getting through their app of like pictures of him doing things / enjoying things / probably just finished crying. And so there's a couple pictures. I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's like, oh, snack. Oh, cool. He's having a little snack. And it's like a picture of him playing in the ball pit, then playing. And then it just says 11:08, diaper change, BM. Oh, that's next level. It's having somebody else document. That's like having somebody else run your social media feed. It's like having just a constant documentary crew around you.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous. Oh, man. I can't wait to teach him about the Judas pig tomorrow. It might be. We're going to start off our day.
It may be too early for him. He's, 18 months old? Like it's a bit too early for the Judas pig.
He's a few years later, he's on the playground with his friends. Yo, you know about these super pigs? They're like, get out of here, kid.
Well, between you and me, he's going to have a lot of information for the playground on a daily basis that, like, he's going to be like the cool nerd kid who's got, like, the cool fun facts.
You see, their logo is a heart.
A heart. You get a call from school. Your son was talking about alcohol on the playground. He's 8 years old.
Yes.
Which one was it? Newburgh?
Yeah. Was it Burger?
Yes. It's a heart.
He didn't talk about the pigs, did he?
He was talking about beer on the playground. Well, at least he's finally moved on from the pigs to beer.
Oh goodness. Well, let's move on to Disney restraint and Star Wars movie rumblings.
Okay, so I had to do some digging to get to this story. There has been a whole bunch of...
do it.
Well, they're capable with their sharp tusks. They're highly intelligent and highly elusive. There was a bunch of rumblings among some of like the tertiary like nerd trades online about news on a Star Wars movie.
Okay.
which, considering we just talked a couple of weeks ago, I went on an impassioned plea for Star Wars to start making movies again. It's like, oh, okay, this is something we need to do on the show. But it was all very vague. What's that?
One of our 14 listeners is in charge of Star Wars.
Yeah. So I was like, let me find out what this is all about. It was kind of vague, and it all seemed to be pointing to other stories. So I kept going through, and I found the original article from a couple weeks ago, February 16th. It was on The Hollywood Reporter. How much is too much Marvel and Star Wars? Disney rethinks franchise output. As Disney chief Bob Iger pledges to be, quote, better at curating releases, fiscal discipline may impact an expansive Disney Plus original slate. Call it a franchise recession. After years of Marvel and Star Wars movies and shows inundating screens big and small, Disney is putting the brakes on the output of some of its biggest franchises and brands following Bob Iger's February 8th comments that the company needs to be, quote, better at curating franchise content. That's extraordinarily expensive. We want the quality on the screen, but we have to look at what they cost us. The directive to rein in cost and output arrives as Disney prepares to release Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania on February 17th, as The Mandalorian Season 3 awaits its March 1st Disney Plus debut. Marvel is Disney's most important supplier of product, the subsidiary with the highest output, and under Iger's directive, it could feel cuts the soonest. There's going to be a level of rigor on Marvel and across the entire company. Numbers matter now, and costs are going to be outlined and enforced. In what feels like a different timeline ago, at July's San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel chief Kevin Feige put the pedal to the metal when he outlined 5 Disney Plus shows for 2023. What If Season 2, Echo, Loki Season 2, Ironheart, and Agatha Coven of Chaos. Now, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that Loki Season 2 and the Samuel L. Jackson-led Secret Invasion are the only sure bets to debut this year. Even projects that wrapped months ago, such as the Hawkeye spin-off Echo and Wakanda Forever spin-off Ironheart, are unlikely to arrive in 2023 as the studio spreads out its content and tinkers in post-production. And shows in development, such as Nova, are now on a slower path. As a point of comparison, during its Phase 4, Marvel Studios released a breakneck 18 projects across theatrical and streaming. 4 films and 5 TV shows in 2021, 3 films and 3 TV shows in 2022, plus a few specials. The studio just released 11 projects from Phase 3, which ran from 2016 to 2019. Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige echoed the new direction. The pace at which we're putting out the Disney Plus shows will change. Feige told Entertainment Weekly in an interview published this week, noting that there will be fewer shows and that they will be more spaced out. Star Wars is facing the opposite challenge. After being absent from the big screen since 2019, and having had false starts with Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, which may never materialize, Disney has ramped up its efforts to return the franchise to theaters. Damon Lindelof led a writer's room in July to hash out a story for a feature, and Taika Waititi is still developing his own take on the franchise. Disney is expected to unveil film plans at Star Wars Celebration set for April in London. On top of Season 3 of Mandalorian, shows expected to hit the streaming service this year include Ahsoka, starring Rosario Dawson, and the John Watts-produced Skeleton Crew. Lucasfilm may ramp up, but it will have to abide by the same fiscal discipline as the rest of the company. So, a brief pause here. This is the paragraph, and what follows after here, that seems to have spawned all of this talk about Star Wars movies and a presumed announcement or affirmation of what's in the works.
Sure.
That Star Wars Celebration is going to be about 6 weeks away, it looks like.
Yeah.
Observers are calling it a massive correction from only a few years ago when the entertainment industry was hell-bent on giving consumers endless amounts to watch, spending endlessly in doing so. You can have 10 mediocre shows, or you can have 5 great shows, says one agency partner whose clients work on the franchise plays. People will still stay on Disney+. On the animation front, 2022 was a tough one for Disney, which saw Pixar's Lightyear underperform and Disney Animation's Strange World outright bomb.
Pause for 1 second. I put on Lightyear because I was like, oh, let me put on something different. Elio was like a little bit under the weather and he was kind of mushy, so we were sitting on the couch and we were watching something. I'm pretty sure I was crying 5 minutes into the movie, and then like multiple times after. It's actually really good.
I mean, I heard that it was reviewed well. I know that the financial numbers weren't what was expected, but I didn't really hear anyone say it was bad.
Yeah.
So
anyway, Nothing to add towards the story. Just saying.
No, it's a good
We
parent.
should probably do that one. That was a good one.
Iger announced 3 new sequels to $1 billion brands: Toy Story, Frozen, and Zootopia. Disney insiders have acknowledged recent box office woes were exacerbated by confusion in the marketplace from families who were trained during the pandemic just to wait for animated features to end up on Disney+. There's talk of longer theatrical windows for Elemental, out June 16th, and Disney Animation's Wish, November 22nd, in hopes of luring families back to theaters. The pullback on Disney Plus is coming amid an industry-wide shift to rethinking the best way to achieve profitability in streaming, as one producer working on multiple projects around town. Every studio and streamer is being forced to behave fiscally responsibly.
All of this means nothing to me.
Okay.
Ultimately, like, they can change. They might change course like 16 times before a movie comes out. It doesn't. It literally, like, it means nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of words.
Well, no, I mean, it's important to... We've talked about there being an absolute avalanche of content the last couple of years.
I appreciate this approach. I actually think that it's better for me because I can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
The way that it's currently falling down. And two, sometimes I'm just like, I don't really want to watch the thing because I have already, like, I've, unwittingly made a judgment call about how good it's going to be. But if they want to slow it down and release quality stuff, like, hell yeah, go for it. Like, dude,
which is
whatever.
Something we've
I want
been asking
I want good Star Wars and good Marvel things. I don't care how often I get them. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, I have.
It was nice to go from having one thing a year to having 2 or 3 or 4 things a year, and that was just when it was movies. When it became 3 or 4 movies a year plus 3 or 4 shows a year, it becomes a lot harder. It doesn't have to be that much, but it also shouldn't go back to what it was. Like, they've
nice, but just land somewhere in the middle and we'll be good. Like 1 to 2 series a year, I think is fine.
Also, like, there's been people like going into investigating in the last 6 months or 12 months about why some of these big tentpole things, not just the TV stuff, but that too, but even the big movies, like, why is the CGI bad? Although I think that that's being used somewhat incorrectly. I haven't found the experience to be across the board that CGI is bad, but to me, it's noticeable that it's inconsistent across a project. And because like there's some movies where I think it looks great, and then someone will nitpick one specific scene. It's like, okay, yeah, no, you're right. Like, that didn't look great, but like still like 80 or 90% of it looked great throughout the course of the movie. And this is for the longest time, Disney and the other ones, but Disney is the big one considering they've got Marvel and Star Wars and all that. Like, they were like, no, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, the CGI is fine. It looks pretty good. Like, there's finally been like an acknowledgement, like, we had to rush some things because of the constraints that making a movie in the pandemic like put upon us. And so, like, it's good that they're finally acknowledging it. It would have been better if they would have acknowledged it on the front end. And
just like be straight up about it. It's
just like how after all this time are people still not understanding? Like, it's not the end of the world to get something wrong, and when you do, it's not even about like making excuses. Just come out and say, hey, listen, we were trying to hit this benchmark. We thought we could get it done properly. We didn't. We're sorry. We still think most of it's pretty good, but it didn't come out to be to the level of standard that we wished. We're going to try and do better. Like, that's not the end of the world. If you phrase it that way, instead of, no, it's fine, shut up, or like, yeah, heads are going to roll. This is terrible. This is an abomination. We're falling on our swords. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that dramatic.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny. Like, this is like one of those things where, like, quote unquote, like, AI tooling will come in handy in the future. I think is like ultimately, like, you can, over time, they'll be able to create something of such high quality, like, in a few of the scenes, and like then kind of extrapolate that to the rest of the movie. Like, that's what this type of machine learning type stuff will likely do really well. And it's not one of those things like, oh, it's going to remove graphic design job. No, it's just going to make them, and it's going to allow them to put out high quality at the clip that they want to, which means that those people will then move on to the next project. What did you say?
I said, 7 fingers at a time. Have you not seen this phenomenon online? Have I not sent you any of these?
No.
I figured this might be a topic that you would read up on, but I guess So this is the thing that you lose not being on Twitter is like you will come across some of these things. So this whole AI, forget about like because what you're talking about is boosting, right? Like you're talking about boosting the work of people with AI,
not creation, like using it as a tool.
You're talking about supplementing the work with AI, which you're right. That is the best possible outcome, no matter what field you're talking about. Having AI as a partner to a person is what is going to lead to the best, most useful results. But so there, people are playing with all these, like the chatbot, different things. I don't know if you've seen any of that, where people are like write a prompt and it does research and it comes up with like a house style and all that, and it can. Some of it's pretty great, some of it's really terrible. And so people have been playing around with AI generated art, and I'm not just talking about the stupid fucking Bored Apes and all that bullshit. I'm talking about like actual, real, like trying to generate actual images. And some of them, there's aspects of it that look pretty incredible. Like sometimes it almost looks exactly like a real person. But the problem is, with the current level of learning and technology and capability of AI, they can make a lot of times faces that look pretty accurate, but hands are often like totally deformed or have entirely too many fingers.
That makes perfect sense to me on account of a hand is usually holding the phone while the person is taking the selfie, of which there are like bazillion selfies online that the AI can consume and then
but there's also
out how to do it, right?
There's also so many pictures that is like a picture of someone holding a camera and like taking a picture of people in which they only have 5 fingers. And like, to be fair, there's like 0.1% of people in the world who have like 6 fingers on a hand. Like, this does happen from time to time, but like it's not very common.
My name is Inigo Montoya. Oh shit.
Yeah, well, that's actually been like an undercurrent meme amongst all of this. Absolutely. I'm sure there's Antonio Alfonseca jokes as well. He was a baseball player who had 6 fingers. But like, it's become a really common thing where, like, I remember seeing a picture a few months ago, and it looked like a picture someone took of all of their friends at a party, like at a house party. It looked super realistic, and then you realize there's like this really attractive girl holding like a drink, and she's got 8 fingers on her hand.
Amazing.
And it's like, it looks like a hand.
The computer's like, those are phalanges.
Yeah. No, what it looked like was, you remember the joke from Bruce Almighty when Jim Carrey's holding his fingers behind his hand to test that God could guess how many fingers, and he goes, he puts up like 10 fingers and then closes 3 of them right before God guesses, and he goes, 7, like whatever was like 7, and he goes, oh, sorry, he had 7, and then he closed it, so he had 5, and he goes, 7, he goes, haha, and he sticks his hand out with 5 fingers, but there's just 2 full fingers to the side of it. Yep. That's what the AI is doing for some reason. Amazing. And so everyone had a laugh at all of those pictures that were coming out, and then, like, a month ago, there was some major, like, protest or something going on in Paris, I think, and there was this pictures that started circulating, and it was of Parisian riot police in gear that had fired tear gas into the crowd, and it was like a focused picture with the smoke behind, and this girl embracing a cop and like leaning against them for support, and the cop looking like they were supporting them, but the cop's hand had 7 fingers on his hand.
Got him.
Yeah, and so it's like, guys, like, thankfully we're still at the stage where you can figure out what's real and what's not, because like 100% of the time they keep getting the hands wrong.
That, it's incredible to me. Like, I feel like I could see the leap and why it's such a thing. Like, I imagine that it's analyzing all of this content. It's seeing, it understands the concept of fingers, but whether it's obstructed by...
Sorry, no, hang on a second. Can we stop with that sentence for a second? It understands the concept of fingers.
Well, then imagine this though, like in however many like photos or how many pieces of content that it analyzes, and it like there could be like an obstructed finger or like a turned in finger where it recognizes it as not there, or even somebody that doesn't have 5 fingers or
sure, but it's also super easy to program a computer with like the baseline knowledge that hands have 5 fingers.
That I would argue that it's probably not. and also the computer is just like, fingers, it's like hand, got it, fingers, got it, variability, nailed it.
I'm just just saying, they keep giving one nose and two eyes and one mouth to all these pictures. You don't see occasionally a Cyclops or a Triclops. Like, because if you saw that, it's like, okay, I see what's happening here. Sometimes there's a picture where someone's in profile and you only see the one eye.
Yeah.
So sometimes the computer thinks there's only one eye on a person, you know?
Sure. It understands the concepts of fingers.
Does it, though?
It puts the lotion on its skin.
Does it, though?
Get the digits. The digits that come out of the paw thing.
Oh, digits means 10, right?
How many... Well, you know, there's two hands when it's analyzing, so most of the time it's
10 fingers.
10 fingers, and then in half the pictures is only one hand, so it just took an average.
Exactly. Oh, a person has 10 fingers, 10 digits. Got it. How many hands? Doesn't matter. 10 fingers. 10 fingers.
Oh man, that's awesome. There's a good amount of time that I do spend. Like, I've seen a number of things that have been generated that are like, it is funny to me, but I definitely analyze it and try to think like, okay, why did this happen? Like, or like, what are the things? And like, it is fun to think about. Like, what are the, like, because I feel like you really could draw an understanding of like, okay, maybe very loose, but these are the steps that I could take to get to what I see here. I have context. I am a person. I know many people.
I understand the concept of fingers.
We tell the chat thing to draw the most powerful being. Super Pig.
Super Pig. 10 fingers.
I think we're gonna need to.
It's just
accounts.
It's the pig from
credits.
It's the pig from Family Guy when Stewie genetically engineers the pig. And it's walking on his knuckles. It's got fists.
If I'm going to ask it to draw anything, I want it to draw me Judas Pig. It's that it's going to be a bunch of pigs in the Last Supper.
It's going to be. I'm just picturing Super Pig with its 10 fingers clutching 30 pieces of silver.
Yes. God, do you remember that old Robin Williams on Broadway stand-up?
I don't know his stand-up too well now.
He does I don't just figure I'll share it with you. He does this whole bit about the Last Supper. He does a joke about it all being on one side of the table. Very, very history of the world. But he's like, if Peter one of you was going to betray me tonight. And Peter was like, was it me, Jesus? And he's like, no, Peter, it wasn't you. Somebody else was like, was it me, Jesus? No, Jesus wasn't me. And Judas was like, is it going to be me, Jesus? Is it me, Jesus? So good. Oh man, that he goes places in that stand-up. Like he is high on something, and he's all over the place. But it is, I have never seen a human being sweat more in my life, which I assume means that it was likely cocaine.
Probably. I mean, considering some of his acts, how fast he would go, or his performances, how fast he would go. I mean, yeah, cocaine seems like a safe assumption.
It's if you haven't seen it don't really recall it, it's probably worth your time one of these days.
All right. So Disney and Star Wars.
It's a lot of stuff there. I mean, I'm with you on the whole. Let's get Star Wars back in theaters. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if this report comes to any fruition, that maybe we'll get a little bit of clarity on that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Even if we just get a general plot outline of something.
Well, how about this? Announce a cast to a movie.
Yeah.
Announce that the Damon Lindelof movie has secured these 5 actors and actresses who are going to be in it, and we're keeping the plot under wraps because we want to really excite you guys next year when we've gone into pre-production. Okay, fine.
I'm here for it. Cool. What do you say we get into some consumption?
Sure.
That's it for your news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wow. I'm gonna kick us off.
Okay.
I don't know if I've talked to you about this, but I started playing this game. It's called Vampire Survivors.
I've never heard of that in my life.
It's so good. But realistically, my Vampire Survivors update. Every time I play a run of this game, I find out new things about it. And that's what keeps me going back to it. Like, it'll be like, oh, I found out you can do these new combinations. Ooh, I wonder if I combine these things, how far I can get. How many things can I kill before the time runs out? Can I kill that thing that comes to get you when the time runs out? The answer is yes.
Nice.
And then, so I killed Death, which was very exciting. And then the game does some really weird stuff.
Well, I don't think you've ever mentioned the fact that you had a friend who was able to stop Death, right?
Yeah. So he stopped them. I stopped him.
Nice.
But
so what is it? Define it does some weird stuff.
Okay. So let me start with the one that I experienced before this, which was the level had a 30-minute cap on it. It said, but death doesn't come for you in this level, and I didn't really understand why. But I was so powerful that the things were getting crazier and crazier on screen, and they just couldn't get near me.
Would you say that you became so powerful that you could even stop the ones you loved from dying?
Yes. So eventually it gets so wonky that the screen starts doing this like really weird warping effect. I'm like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden it goes black and then it flashes back on. And now I'm in like an actual like structured level that is like has a place to go. And I'm like, this is weird. And I try to make my way through it and there's an arrow pointing to telling me where to go. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is nothing like anything I've played in this game before. Like, what is going on? And then I died because I just didn't like it. Starts you off with a few weapons / power-ups that were just not nearly enough for me to get through it. And I died and I got back to the main menu. I was like, what just happened? I kind of want to do that again. So I was getting all set to grab my character and go back into the level and try to see if I could create that much chaos again that I get teleported into this new place. But then I go to the menu and there's a level there that says, hey, are you seeing this? I don't think this is supposed to be here. And it's the level that I was just in.
Wow.
So then I found a build for that and I played through it and I beat that and I unlocked something at the end of it and then the level disappeared again. It's just like the game has so many funky little secrets that like, I don't know. It's just really cool. And anyway, so
that is cool. Like that, there aren't a lot of games that do that sort of thing now, which I understand because like the amount of resources they have to pour into building these things, like it is incredible. Like as much as and maybe to a slightly lesser extent than some of the people who are really hardcore gamers, but like I'm somewhat with them where it's like these development cycles are so insanely long, and you guys make these promises like to the moon and beyond, and you don't even make it like beyond the levels of mountains. Like, like if you're gonna have a 7-year development cycle and promise us like this incredible shit, like don't give us dog shit. Like,
right.
So, but I am sympathetic too to the fact that like what it takes, like like the tools that they have are more powerful than you could possibly have imagined 30 years ago. But with great power comes great responsibility and great amounts of fucking work to get it to do something incredible in like a real way that matters. So like I get the double-edged sword that is and why you can't do cool, fun little niche things like this, but it's cool when someone can execute that because a game like that could be repetitive and boring after a certain amount of time. So to have enough curveballs to keep you coming back after the first like 90 minutes is pretty cool.
So and it's all, there's always something new. There's like so far I haven't hit a point where I'm like I'm done with this game. It's like I'm almost like okay, next time I come back I'm gonna try this thing, and then all of a sudden I'll unlock something. Like, all right, well cool. Next time I come back, I guess I'm gonna go after that thing that I just unlocked. But so it got to the point where I was in this level called the Bone Zone. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff.
Hey, listen, vampires have always been sex symbols, so it's fun.
I think that's which level it is, but like it starts off and on like I've gone through the game a bunch of times, like different things that I've unlocked. So now when I start a level, if there are secret things on the level or like specials on the level, there's arrows indicating where they are and what they are, which is kind of cool because now I'm not playing a guessing game because I've unlocked all these things, right? But I was like, there was these 4 items that I had never seen before, and they clearly mirrored each other. So I was like, oh, I'm guessing I need both of them for something. They're really far away from each other. ultimately figured out that two of them pair with one thing and the other two pair with another thing. So I made sure that I had the appropriate equipment to get those things. Or I was trying to make sure that I had the appropriate equipment to get those things so that I could level them up. Didn't make it the first round. My buddy, he did it, and he got through it. And he sent me he sent me a text after he got it done, and he was the first person to kill Death. So I was like, well, I'm going back in. So you go back in, and I figured this out. I finally I managed things a little bit better this time. I get all of this equipment. So a combination of two of them with one of the weapons gave me a sort of cloak that my character can wear. And it made it so that any incoming damage from any level enemy was limited to 10.
Okay.
Enemies couldn't do more than 10 damage. It's like, wow, that's actually pretty significant. And it got me thinking when I read that, I was like, oh, even Death at the end? Sure, turns out, yes, even Death can only do 10 damage at a time. So it's like, okay, that's cool. Then the other thing allows you to improves the power of this thing that can freeze stuff. So by the time I get to the level, I'm so overpowered. By the time I get to the end and Death comes to get me, I'm shooting out these rays that freeze things just all over the place. So Death comes and it's like, and it's just frozen and carbonite. So then I just keep attacking it until it dies. I did know this in advance because my buddy had already done it, but you get close to killing the first one and the second one comes and it's like, surely this one will kill you. And no, killed that one too. So Then the game goes wee, 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 and it just starts like zooming in on you, and everything disappears, and your character's getting bigger because it's like this 2D game, and your character's really small on the screen. Yeah. It's zooming in and zooming in and zooming in, and then there's this like gray death, like little thing that comes from off. You're not attacking anymore. You're like barely in control, and it just slowly comes and takes you. And it's like no. You're done. That's basically what it does. I was like, this is
playtime's over.
So I unlocked something else by doing these things, which was awesome because now there's something else for me to go check out. But my buddy, who's a little bit ahead of me, like he's been playing as well, and like kind of gets a little bit like leapfrogs me, plays it a little bit more often than I do. Got into this situation where took the cap off of leveling up items and then took the cap off the timer. So now it sends me a picture or sends me a short video of how like an hour into the run and of like they're usually only 15 to 30 minutes, depending on which level you're on, completely demolishing everything. And the deaths are going like killed like over 400,000 enemies. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like just sitting there, the controller's just down and the character is doing all this work. I was like, this is so funny. And I just thought about this today when we were getting on the call. I meant to call them and ask them about it because I'm wondering, so powerful that you can't die? Because if that's the case, you can never end that level and take all of the stuff that you've earned.
Oh.
Which would be a twist.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious how that netted out.
No, that is interesting. Actually, I didn't realize it worked that way. Where you can only grab it at the end when it ends with your death or whatever. That's interesting.
Yeah. So if you die in the beginning, in the middle too, you get what you've earned up to that point. But if you don't die, the level doesn't end. Interesting.
Yeah. So is there a fail state, or do you have to like cancel?
I think you have to quit. I think you have to quit the level, and then therefore you don't get any of the stuff that you've earned.
Okay.
Which seems interesting. I have to ask and see where that went. Who knows? For all I know, if you leave the controller there and the game plays for 24 hours, you probably unlock something ridiculous. But it's bonkers. It's really fun. Like really, really fun. You find out these combinations of like weapons and powers that go together, and like you evolve them, and then you find out later on that like if you get two things that are evolved and you merge those together, you could evolve it to something. It's just ridiculous. It's absurd. And then you just go on this like power trip. When your character is just like when I was the most powerful, the one where I killed Death.
Yeah,
there's this one power up that sends Bibles swirling around you. It starts with like 2, and I get a power up that gave me 3, and you level it up. It goes forward, then it goes more damage, and it moves faster. But I had the level capping off, so I just kept leveling up. By the time I got to the end there, the circle around me that the Bibles were swirling in was so big that it was touching the edges of the top and bottom of the screen. And it was moving so fast that you couldn't see the things that were in it anymore. It was just like this circle of chaos. So that was one thing. And the enemies couldn't get past that. But if they did, I also had my garlic leveled up, my evolved garlic, which if they touch the evolved garlic...
So is that like elephant garlic or...
They get hurt. Have you ever cooked with elephant garlic? It is ridiculous.
I don't think so, but I've seen it before.
It's bonkers. But if they touch the garlic, they get hurt. But then also when it's evolved garlic, they don't only just get hurt, you're stealing their hearts too. So you suck the life out of the things as they enter that circle. So that circle is inside of the Bible circle. So I've got this area of defense around me that is just killing everything. And then if they somehow cross that, I just suck the life out of them.
Now, would you call it a Bible belt?
Yeah, I would. I would. A Bible belt in perpetual mode.
Yeah.
It's a great game. You should play it.
All right. I might give it a shot.
Maybe we'll play it Oscars weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We'll get into some Vampire Survivors. What are you consuming?
All right. So I'll just get out of the way quickly. My kind of recurring weekly watches. I'm up on. I watched this week's Bad Batch. I went all the way through to finish the last couple episodes of Shrinking that have been out. That's been dropping on Friday, so there'll be a new one tomorrow, I guess. I really enjoy Shrinking. That's a really entertaining show. Watch that one. I would think you and Kim would enjoy that one for sure. Harrison Ford's good in it. I don't know if it's just that he's finally found projects he actually wanted to work on or what. Like I kind of he's a good actor when he wants to be, and it seems like right now he wants to be. I don't watch 1923, but like I've seen bits of it. Like if my parents were watching it, or if I've seen like a clip of it here and there, and it's like he seems like he gives a damn about doing it, and he seems like he gives a damn about doing this. I mean, he's still playing a crusty old man, which he is in real life, but like he doesn't seem like he's bored being there. Like there's a way to do that in a way that's interesting.
Sure, that's cool.
Yeah, so I really have enjoyed that show so far. It's got a compelling central group of characters, and it switches back and forth between funny and real and all that, and it's a good solid watch. I've very much enjoyed that show so far. Nice. Bad Batch is still just fine. Still plugging through For All Mankind. I watched a couple episodes the other day. I'm like halfway through the second season of 3 that are out. I know they're working on the 4th season. I'm not sure when it's going to come out. Hopefully maybe later this year. So that's been like kind of like the weekly, in addition to, obviously The Last of Us, which we'll talk about later. But,
sure.
Do you have something you want to jump to, or do you want me to go to my next thing?
Yeah, I'll do my quick burn of the shows that I'm keeping up with. So Abbott Elementary, which is just hysterical. A Million Little Things, which at this point I feel like we continue to watch, and it's it's good enough.
Oh, is that still going?
But some of the acting is just
jeez.
But like it's just hard. Some of it's hard to watch. Like Kim and I constantly make faces at each other during certain characters on screen. But ultimately, it's just a drama for drama's sake like show. It's entertaining. I look forward to watching it. And American Idol started last week, so we got really into it last year, and it was fun. It was just really fun to watch. So
that's right. I remember being perplexed when you told me that. Like,
yeah, so Kim and I were talking about this, and it's again good. It's entertaining. I think when the show started, and like there was no gate, and it was just like here are the people auditioning, and it was like there was like a shock value to it, and it was kind of fun, but that doesn't hold. Like you can only do so much of that, of just listening to just horrible auditions, right? So it's gotten to the point where like they have to. I mean, I know they've been doing this for years, but they have to like pass a level of audition before they even get onto the show now.
Yeah,
which is good because then you get some more interesting. Like you get some like there's some people that have performed already that you're like, damn, like that was awesome, or like that have touching backstories, whatever. But then there's like they will let a few through that are just going to be like a showpiece, and I feel like I'm a little. It's kind of rubbing me the wrong way because it's like, do they know? Do they know they were put through like to ham it up? Because sometimes they seem genuinely upset.
It's tough to tell. Some of them, it's obvious that they know it's a bit, and sometimes it seems like you're not 100% sure.
Yeah. So that part I find weird. I don't even like. I'm not there for the shock value of like, oh my god, this was so terrible. Like, oh, I can't not watch it. I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable. I watch it through my shirt. I pull my shirt over my head and I watch.
There's been a couple of them that have been funny over the years, but overall, I agree with you.
But I like to listen to a good performance. I love covers, so that works for me. But then I really enjoy the show for the occasional like person that like starts singing and you go, where did you come from? Like, and those are awesome. So it's fun. The judges are entertaining enough too. I love Lionel Richie.
Who are the judges now?
It's Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Bryan.
That sounds right. What a random group of people, of artists.
Yes, indeed. It's just like, it's not American Idol, it's America's Next Country Singer, because that seems to be all they do. Which is really
for the most part at
irritating.
this point, yeah.
But I never really care for those. But so it's fun. That's my rapid fire.
Okay.
What else are you
so
consuming?
I watched. I had been talking to my dad about watching For All Mankind, and he seemed vaguely interested. But what he asked after that, he said, "Well, did you ever see The Right Stuff?" I said, "No." So on Sunday, we watched The Right Stuff. Me and him and my brother. Did you ever see that one?
No, it's on my list of things that I'd like to watch. So
really good movie. Really, it's a pretty fascinating story. I mean, what that movie tackles hands the baton to, the real aspect of where For All Mankind takes off, and then obviously, muddles between the real and the fictitious. But
sure.
It's a pretty fascinating story because and the way that the movie is presented is kind of non-traditional, because whatever you may think like the main character or the main cast is kind of changes and ebbs and flows throughout the passage of time, because it starts in,
that's cool,
I think the late 1940s or early 1950s, I forget, with what the hell is his name? He was a World War II pilot. At the time he was the most accomplished pilot in the U.S. military. He was the only person to ever shoot down 5 enemy planes in the same day, which is incredible. And I'm totally forgetting the guy's name right now, but he was like a super famous pilot. He was a test pilot for the military for a long time, and he was the first person to break the sound barrier in an airplane. So it starts with all of that. Sam Shepard played him in the movie, and they go through this whole thing where it's the lead up to him taking the assignment, doing it, and it's an incredible story as it is. It was literally
Chuck Yeager,
that's it. The jets didn't exist at that point. It was, they went from propeller planes to, they had built rockets.
Right.
So he flies a rocket plane, which when you watch what happens, it's like, oh, rockets aren't really meant to be steered like planes. Like it doesn't really work. Because like a bunch of these test pilots were like dying and not achieving Mach 1, even though they thought that the engine was capable of doing it. And because it's a rocket and not like a jet, the way that they launch this plane is a giant cargo plane is holding the rocket plane, and it takes off and flies and drops the plane, and then you ignite the rocket. And it's basically don't crash for long enough to get enough acceleration to break the sound barrier, which I guess at that time they didn't even think it was physically possible to do. There was, and a lot of it's built in superstition, but it's like, because there is physical resistance to it, they call it like the wall, basically. Like there's some sort of invisible force that you will like crash into as if you were running into a wall. And so it goes from that, and they spent the first half hour of the movie is very Chuck Yeager centric, and then he has like a sum total of 5 minutes of screen time across the whole rest of the movie, which is over 3 hours long.
That's
because his story, unfortunately, mostly ends at that point, and he passes the baton to other people. And it's kind of fucked up. Like, I would assume that the story is largely true. And in fact, Chuck Yeager himself is in the movie in a cameo as not as himself playing someone else, but it's the real life Chuck Yeager plays like a bartender in this bar that all of the pilots go to. And it's about the actual start of the space program in the US. And, you hear a little bit of stuff about Russia, which I'm sure For All Mankind spiritually took a lot of stuff from this movie because there's a lot of parallels in how they deliver some of the space race. And it's a really good movie. It's fascinating. It is a long watch. It can be slow at times, although largely not. I was never bored by it, really. It's got a ridiculous cast. I don't know if you had the cast list up, but I'll read off
I could pull it back up. Yep, I got it here.
Because I'm going to end up forgetting a couple of people because of how many people were in it.
We got Sam Shepard, Scott Glenn, Ed Harris, Dennis Quaid. That's another face that puts me to sleep.
Yep.
Fred Ward.
He's so young in this, man.
Barbara Hershey, Kim Stanley. That name sounds familiar. Veronica Cartwright, Pamela Reed. That's Kindergarten Cop, right?
Yes.
Scott Paulin, Charles Frank, Lance Henriksen, Donald Moffat, Levon Helm, Mary Jo Deschanel.
Yeah, Scott Emily and Zoe's mother, who I did not know was...
Get out of here.
That's really? Their mother. I had no idea.
Oh, that's cool. Scott Wilson. That's pretty cool. A little Herschel action. Kathy Baker and Mickey Crocker.
So, obviously Sam Shepard plays Chuck Yeager, who is a pilot but does not become an astronaut. So Scott Glenn, Ed Harris, Dennis Quaid, Fred Ward, Scott Paulin, Charles Frank, and Lance Henriksen play the first astronauts, the first American astronauts for NASA. And they show the selection process. There's a big chunk kind of in the middle of the movie of them trying to recruit the best pilots who fit the qualifications they thought they would need to be not just pilots, but astronauts. And it shows, of these million candidates or whatever that were trying to do it. And, you kind of focus in on these guys. These were all real life people. Alan Shepard was the first man to go to outer space, played by Scott Glenn. John Glenn, Gordon Cooper, Gus Grissom, Deke Slayton, Scott Carpenter, Wally Schurra. Those were the first crew of astronauts. And for a large chunk of the movie, it's them together. And it's really cool watching as time goes on and as they're trying to figure this shit out step by step, watching some of the brilliant things that they come up with and some of the absolute idiocy they come out with that someone has to correct. Like, guys, this is fucking stupid. And watching like the kind of jock mentality of the pilots butting up against the scientists as they were trying to, and both sides end up getting some of it right and some of it wrong. And watching the natural rivalries that exist among the astronauts, and then watching as the tension gets ratcheted up, the camaraderie that forms throughout all of that. It's a really, really good movie.
That's a funny concept because I feel like juxtaposed with like Maverick, where the jocks are like, we're going to do this thing. And the scientists are like, yeah, I mean, we really could make it possible for you to do this thing.
Well, and so there is some of that. Like, for instance, they create, the scientists create this capsule, right? There's no shuttles back then. It's a capsule.
Yeah.
And it's to be totally steered and controlled on the ground by the scientists. And they're like, we're pilots. You hired us to be astronauts as pilots. What happens when your controls don't work. We're pilots, we need to be able to fly this thing, and you didn't put a window on it. We can't physically see out of the thing. And they're like, well, you won't have to. Like, we are controlling it. You won't have to fly it. And they're like, okay, and what if the primary system goes down? We have the secondary system. And when that goes down, we might be able to do a window.
That's great. I have to watch this. This sounds right up my alley.
It's a good movie. It's a very serious subject, and sure. I've always been fascinated and enamored of outer space, and so this is right up my alley. Even though it's sci-fi in the strictest definition, but not really, because this is real. It's not sci-fi. It's sci-non-fi. But it's real science and space and all that shit. But I don't know. There's just something about it, and it's super well acted and directed and written.
As long as no one does some sort of cheesy model version of slingshotting around something or folds a piece of paper in half and pokes a hole through it, I think we're gonna be okay.
No, this is what really happened, man. This shit really happened 60, 70 years ago. And there's things like they didn't know if once you left the atmosphere, if it was possible to survive.
Yeah.
No one did. 15 years earlier, they didn't know if they could physically fly faster than a certain speed because some sort of space force was going to just swat the plane down because no, you're not allowed to do that, physics. So it's, there's one specific scene there's two specific scenes that are kind of left up to a certain amount of interpretation because, some of that stuff was classified. And also when you're talking about one person going to outer space and no one has ever been there before.
Right.
What is true or not true? And forget about what is true or not true. Do we even have the knowledge to be able to interpret what is being experienced in that moment?
Right.
But it's not played for cheesiness. It's in real time. That's what they didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's a fascinating story. Even if you don't give a shit about science from a historical perspective.
This sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's long as shit. Don't get me wrong, but it's a really good movie. I think it's worth the investment of time.
Long movies, so.
Well, I don't just mean for you. I mean for anyone.
Sure. Right on. Awesome. I have not consumed many movies. I did rewatch the movie that we're doing today to a degree, but I did get to sit down for another hour or so with Hogwarts Legacy.
Okay.
It's fun. It's very entertaining, to run around the castle and do missions and stuff like that. It's not like there's nothing about it that's going to me that's I love this game. I have to go back to it immediately. But I'm compelled to play through it for sure. And to do side missions. It is fun to just be in that world. I love the Wizarding world. So it's super entertaining. It's not I don't know. As far as games that really captivate, when Jedi Survivor comes out, for example, all other video games are on hold. That is a thing. But I already know I'm going to be completely locked in on. But this will be nice. I would like to finish the main story before that so that I don't get too lost coming back to it. But I doubt that that'll actually happen. But it is fun. And the dueling mechanics are kind of fun. And figuring out timing and using the right spells to break guards and dodging and parrying. And it's got a lot of component. I like that stuff in video games. I like Jedi Fallen Order, for example. I like those types of combat mechanics.
Yeah.
And it's got that. And then there's all the secrets that you try to unlock. And there's a couple of side quests that I did that I'm it's stupid, but it's fine. I got to run around the castle and overhear things that were going on. And I got to go to a dueling club and I don't know, it's fun.
Now,
there's a really cool mechanic of when you learn a new spell, it's a very small mini game, but you have to trace this wand motion with the right stick. Or the left stick, okay. I don't remember, probably the left stick. And you have to hit buttons along the way, and when you hit the button, it gives you a little bit of a boost. But once you start, something starts following it, and if it hits it, you fail, and you have to do it again. So you're trying to perfectly do the maneuver and also hit the buttons at just the right time. Like it's a neat little. It's not overbearing. They don't do it that often, but like you have to do that to unlock the spell, and it's just kind of fun.
Now, how open is the game? Like, how much space on the grounds? How much space in the castle?
From what I understand, it gets pretty damn open.
Okay.
To the point where you can like get a hippogriff and fly around.
Oh, nice.
I have not done much of that. I have been mostly in the castle, which only certain areas of it are like locked off from you for like level purposes. But I've also gone to Hogsmeade, and that looked pretty wide too. But I haven't done any like deep exploration into the distance to see like where I can go. I do know that there's a lot.
Have you journeyed into the Forbidden Forest, or is it
not
forbidden?
Yet? No, I haven't gone there yet.
Okay. Now, also, how open is it? Like from the perspective of like, are there time sensitive things? Like, do you have to if you like don't go to class on time? Do you like get in trouble or some shit?
I haven't had any sort of time thing. It's just like I choose which mission I'm going to do, and then like I just follow that.
I was just curious because I'm assuming, like you've mentioned, like going to classes or something like that. Like, so
no, there hasn't been anything like you have to.
Like, oh no, like you turn on the game, you have to go to Charms class within the next 30 minutes, otherwise like you fail Charms and like someone's gonna.
Interestingly, I think some of the missions I think have a time component to them of like they take place at a certain time. Like for example, I started this one mission. I was like, oh, I'm going to go do this main quest line. So I went to go start it. And I got to the place where it starts. And it's like, oh, the professor's not here. I guess I'll wait. And like the character sits down and the screen went black for a second and came back and it was a different time of day. And then the professor was there. So like,
okay, so
it might be like,
is there a game clock or is it just based on like, oh, I choose to initiate this, which has to take place in the afternoon?
Right. I think there's just like an atmospheric clock, basically, that like it can cycle to.
Well, so like, is there like so like after you finish that, like, do you have to like go to sleep to initiate the next day, or
no? I haven't had to do anything like that.
Okay,
I haven't played for any specific length of time where I've really noticed the time change, except for that one instance where I chose to do that quest, and it was like, he's not here right now. Because then also like the characters that you interact with and like you start quests with, they're like walking around the castle. So like it could also very well be that the game needed to calculate, okay, what happens between him getting from where he is to you and like what other characters move to the appropriate places, because I'm assuming there's like secrets like that within the castle.
Because I was wondering, like, because like something like the last several like Grand Theft Auto games like have that accelerated game clock where like if you play for like basically a minute's an hour, where if you play for 24 minutes you go through like the cycle of a day and night, so that like different things happen at night than at daytime and all that shit. So or there's like was like the Elder Scroll games, right? Like you can like go to sleep to rest for whatever, but you choose, I'm going to rest for 8 hours. So it went from daytime to dusk, and now there was this one quest I can only do during dusk or whatever. So I was wondering if it was something like that.
Yeah, I haven't encountered anything like that. You do have your dormitory that you can go into. So I don't know. I haven't even tried to sleep. I don't know if that's a mechanic. I haven't experienced it yet.
Did you figure out
like level 5 or 6? The mirror is broken. All of the mirrors are broken. I don't. If I look at the mirror, it's the back of my character. I have no idea what's going on. Like it feels like something that should have definitely, like, people have noticed this. Right?
Wait, so is the game third person or first person?
Third.
So is the mirror showing you the reflection of the camera, which is pointed at your back?
Let's not give them that much credit. It's clearly,
no, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Clearly a mistake.
I'm just trying to get answers.
Oh man, it is kind of funny though. It's very disorienting to interact with.
I would think so.
It's just like so like okay, so that's the back of me and I'm looking at it, and I turn the character around towards the camera, and now I see the front of the character in the mirror. I'm like, this is dumb. That's not how this works. I do have some pretty cool gloves.
Oh,
they look cool. I've got a cool cloak that I unlocked. You can unlock things, so you can wear them.
Nice.
What I do like about the game is that like you'll find and unlock and earn various like apparel that have certain effects and things like that on them. But what the game doesn't do is it doesn't lock you into to having the look of that thing that you unlocked. So like you can, I unlocked the cloak that has like, X, Y, or Z buff on it. I can choose to have that buff, but look like the other cloak that I like, which I really appreciate.
That's kind of cool.
And you kind of own what your character looks like. Which Aiden Clearwater is looking pretty dope right now. Okay. Sometimes you can put your hood up, you can put your hood down. It's great. It's great. I do a lot of Accio and just like try to grab things that are in the sky. It's great.
Do you ever
There's random like spellbound pages that are flying around and you can grab them and then you earn stuff for it. It's pretty cool.
Have you ever kidnapped someone's owl as it's coming into the
I have not.
to the cafeteria?
I'll have to give that a go.
The Great Hall.
I did find this girl was trying to play gobstones with some of the other classmates, and I guess she's really good at them. But when you lose at gobstones, apparently you get stunk by it.
Yes, actually, that does sound right.
Right? So they got mad at her, and they put her gobstones in high places that she couldn't reach, and she's only a first year and doesn't know any spells. So I had to run around the castle and collect them.
So you had to Accio her gobstones?
That's right. Ooh, that's a phrase. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with it.
Hey, listen, you prompted it.
You know what I mean? No.
Later on, I'm going to go Accio her gobstones. If you know what I mean. Did you know, I think, Whose Line Is It Anyways ending? I think like they're shooting like the final season of it.
I didn't realize it was still on.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. Man, I used to love that show. Yeah. What else are you consuming?
So I am stalling until I get to the page with my stuff. Sure. I had some pretty fantastic food stuffs this week.
Oh, I'm glad because I've got two listed right here too to go over as well.
So Saturday, me and Dominic went out to a couple of bars in Beacon, and I hadn't had dinner. So the first one we went to, he's like, "Oh yeah, the food's pretty good there." So I got there and he goes, "Oh, it looks like they must rotate the menu every few months because this wasn't what it was last time." He had already eaten, but I saw it was basically all Mexican food. I was like, "Okay, cool."
Perfect.
And on the special, like the signature dishes, lamb tacos.
Yes.
I was like, well, I've never had lamb tacos before, and that phenomenon is going to have to change. We're going to have the lamb tacos.
Naturally.
They were so good. So fat, because I literally, like it came out like piping hot to me, and I picked one up, and like a gallon of oil poured out of it.
Amazing.
Which is kind of disgusting, but it's like, oh, so this is going to be delicious then.
Yeah.
It was in some sort of like ancho chili rub and like pickled red onions.
Yes.
So fucking good.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah, messy as shit because, like I said, so much fat and oil came out of like the lamb, but it was so freaking good.
Nice.
So that was.
I love lamb.
Are you just saying things that you love around the area, or do you really love the lamb?
I love the lamb.
So I had off Monday. A lot of people did with President's Day. It's like my whole family and did as well. And so Sunday we had like kind of was treated more like a Saturday. We had brunch. My mom decided to come up with a bunch of different stuff to make. So she made like French toast sticks and like a big quiche. And she made pancake mini muffins. She basically made pancakes, but put them into like a mini muffin like tray with, blueberries and chocolate chips and all that fun stuff.
Cool.
Dominic got a couple of different, because I'm not actually huge on mimosas. I prefer like a Bellini instead.
Sure.
But he didn't just get peach. He also got passion fruit nectar and guava nectar.
Cool.
So mixed up some of those. Literally, I had each of them on their own, and then I also tried mixing and matching 2 or 3 of the juices together.
Nice.
Pretty incredible. So that was a nice touch. And today, she stumbled across this recipe. Never would have considered it. She was like, "Oh, let me give that a try." It was gnocchis in like a Parmesan cream sauce with chicken and spinach. And I think lemon.
Okay.
Really fucking good.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah. And then for Mardi Gras, I had, my dad was like, I got to work late, whatever. Let's just order whatever we want from whatever restaurants we want. And so I got this kind of like a combo thing from the Mexican place I like here where, it's enchilada and flauta and burrito or whatever. And he got food from this Italian restaurant, and he surprised us by coming home with waffle fries and gorgonzola. I don't know if you ever
Stop
heard of
it.
this before.
I'm so mad. Those are both of the things I'm coming to you for. Oh, you brewed with heart me there. You did it.
I did.
The vampire survived me.
I was thinking about saying something to you the other day. I was like, no, I'm just gonna find my way to like Trojan horse this into the conversation.
Damn. You know what's really irritating to me is that yesterday we were at a restaurant and they had gnocchi with a gorgonzola cream sauce and with toasted walnuts on top of it. That sounded so. I didn't get it. We ended up getting other things that were incredible. Because the other thing that I wanted, I'm not sorry I got it. We'll talk about that in a moment. But anyway, I heard that and I was like, I gotta make plans with Al. I still have to try these fucking fries. My goodness. Is that it?
For the foods? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's all right. So yesterday we went out to dinner and we haven't been out to dinner in a while. And there's a place that somebody had recommended to Kim. It's extremely difficult to get a reservation. You can only make them online. You can only be seated by reservation, and they are constantly booked.
Mm.
So like the friend that I told her about it was like, I just noticed that there is an availability on this date. If you want, you can try to go get it. We got it. So it was free yesterday. You go in. Not a tiny place, but not a big place. It's small. BYOB, which I appreciate for a place like that. Brought a nice bottle of wine. It was delicious. We started off with one of the appetizers and one of the sides as an appetizer. So the first appetizer was stuffed fried olives.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard of that, but it sounds delightful.
Olives stuffed with sausage and chicken and battered and fried.
See, I wouldn't have thought that the olives would be big enough to properly do that.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed it, but they managed it. And
did they like Frankenstein? Like, did they like cut 3 or 4 olives and like slit them open and then like stitch them together around the stuffing?
No. They pinned the olive and they managed to shove this stuff through the hole. I don't understand. It was delicious. It was so damn good. And then we had the side that we grabbed as an appetizer was like Roman artichokes. So you like artichokes?
Yeah, it depends on what they're in. Like I don't love them, but I don't like dislike them. They're fine. It just kind of depends on how they're prepared. One of my aunts on my dad's side makes like fried artichoke hearts, and those are fucking delicious. Sure. And like I've had them a couple of different ways in different pastas, and they're fine. But like on their own, I'm not always a huge fan of them. Like,
so this particular type of artichoke is really good on its own. I feel like I know what you're talking about. There are some that are not. They're fine, but like this is really good, and it's a small artichoke and it has a really long. The long stem is attached to it.
Yeah,
it's very very tender. The whole thing is very tender, and they have them cut in half lengthwise, and they had this like breadcrumb Romano like crunch on top of it, and it was on this bed of something pureed with a lot of lemon. Okay. I think
lemon is a common accompaniment to artichoke.
My goodness, yeah, it goes so good. That was incredible. So then that was the appetizer. Dinner. I'm gonna start with the one that wasn't the best, which was still one of the better things I've ever eaten. We had one of their specials was just a twist on. They have a bolognese on the menu, but this was like one of their specials was like, we're not doing that tonight. We're doing it slightly different, so that this replaces that. We're like, okay, we're listening, and it was they made their own in-house spinach fettuccine.
Okay,
so we're talking homemade pasta, but infused with spinach. It was green. It was green pasta. They made the bolognese with pork and beef, and they did it like that more traditional style where there's a very light amount of tomato in it, and there's cream in it to give it a different texture.
I was just reading something the other day talking about like adding cream to it. I was like, oh, I never would have thought to have that in bolognese. Like that wouldn't have seemed like I just would have thought that would have been some other thing.
Mm-hmm. But they did that with a however many month old aged pecorino shaved on top. It was delightful. It was just so creamy and delicious, and the pasta was cooked perfectly. Like the meat was, it was so good.
I don't think I would have thought to have spinach pasta with that sort of sauce.
I think because they did a creamy sauce, they made a creamy bolognese. It was like a white bolognese, basically. But it also wasn't very saucy. It was more. It let the individual parts of the dish speak for itself, which I really appreciate. It was delicious. That was excellent, and not even remotely as good as the next dish I'm about.
Oh God!
Okay, it was orchetta picante.
Okay,
homemade orchetta.
Orchetta.
So those little they're like those thumbprint hats.
Orchetti?
Sure.
Okay.
With those thumbprint hats.
Yeah.
They did that, and it was so it was I want to say it, they call it pepperoncini, but it's not like those green ones that you get in a salad. It's like the red one, the calabrese pepper, the one that is similar to what's used in the dried crust red pepper, but it's not the dry one. It's it's fermented, and I don't know if you've ever had it. I have some. I will give it to you when you come. It's delicious. But basically, they made
not a cherry pepper, right?
But there was cherry pepper involved too. So it was that plus cherry pepper, and I'm assuming some sort of maybe tomato paste. There was definitely a little bit of cream involved, and it was definitely pureed because the pepper flavor, the vinegar from those peppers, the tomato, all of it was all one cohesive sauce.
Okay.
Dude.
That sounds pretty good.
This is one of the best pastas I've ever had. I've had a lot of pasta in my life.
I would say because I really like chicken scarparella, which has the cherry peppers with the vinegar as the base of the sauce. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my favorite Italian dishes. So I'm sure I probably would have really liked that. I always think of, we have the orchetti with broccoli rabe and hot sausage and sun-dried tomatoes, and with a sauteed garlic and oil and hot pepper flakes too. That's one of my favorite pasta dishes.
Yeah. Oh, so good. This was just I can't even explain. It was so goddamn good. I was I took a bite of it and I was this is just not right. And on top of that, they cooked the pasta perfect. And it sounds like that shouldn't be hard to do, but it is. You have to take it out at the exact right moment because it's gonna continue to cook just a little bit longer than that. You got to know what you're doing. Yeah. And they knew what they were doing. And all of the pasta was so evenly and perfectly cooked, and it was just it had just the right amount of bite to it, and this incredible sauce. It was just so good. And we didn't stop there.
Oh boy.
We then had some dessert.
Okay.
All right. I had an espresso. Kim had a cappuccino, which she immediately regretted. She was like, I'm so full. I think were her words as it arrived. And then we got pistachio gelato.
Oh, nice.
Delicious. It was excellent. And olive oil orange cake.
I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah. So it was this white cake with I'm assuming orange juice would be my guess was in the batter of the cake I assume is what happened here. And then I guess they maybe drenched the cake in olive oil once it's done because it wasn't it may have been cooked with it also, but it was so clearly moist with olive oil. And then there was a fresh whipped cream on top with orange zest and slices of orange.
Nice.
It was bananas. And I feel when you go to a restaurant like this, the desserts are usually, it's fine. No. They were excellent. And all the other ones that I saw come out, I'm like, this is just ridiculous. Now, one thing about the restaurant was the menu, nothing crazy. It wasn't a huge size menu, which I appreciate. It was like maybe there was like 5 appetizers, 5 pastas, 5 dinners, 5 sides that you could choose from. But then they read you the specials, and the specials list is longer than the goddamn menu. And I've immediately lost track. But like on the specials menu was the gorgonzola gnocchi.
Nice.
Which we didn't get, which I would like to try. But there were like 4 different fishes on the specials menu.
That's surprising. Usually there's 1 or 2 because like a lot of times like those specials menus are like derived by like what they can like what they got like a good deal on that they don't always carry or whatever, right? Which is why like the specials always has like the regular menu always has like a filet of sole dish and like Fra Diavolo or whatever, and then like there's like, oh, we have a special today. It's a trout, a river trout or whatever. Like because they don't always have that, but that week they got a good deal on it or whatever. Yeah. Right?
Man, oh, I want to go back. I will be going back. That was last night's dinner. Tonight we had a nice Italian wedding soup. I always like. Very easy to make.
Mm-hmm.
The worst part about it is rolling all those tiny meatballs.
Yeah, that's why, like, my dad will, like, spend hours on a Sunday making, like, 400 meatballs and then freezing, like, 90% of them. Nice. So that, he doesn't have to make them again for, like, months. Because then it encouraged him to say, when he has the mood for that, because he likes to make, I mean, has, like, his own particular variation of it, but, like, he likes that sort of soup. And so he can make the soup and then just go grab the meatballs and plop them in, and
he's making all of these tiny meatballs.
Oh, he'll make like both. He'll make regular meatballs and tiny meatballs.
Nice.
And then he'll freeze. Like I said, he'll freeze. He'll like it'll be like, oh, it's Sunday. We're gonna do like a Sunday like bolognese type or whatever, like Sunday dinner, like with like pasta meatballs, like whatever. And so he'll make a bunch of meatballs for that, and then he'll make a bunch of regular and tiny meatballs from the mix that he made. He'll cook all of them, and then he'll put 15 of them in the sauce or whatever, or 12 in the sauce, and then the rest all get like vacuum sealed and thrown in the freezer.
Not a bad idea. Speaking of,
because then he doesn't have to do it for like 3 months or whatever.
There's an Italian supermarket nearby. They have some pretty good stuff, but they have one thing in particular in their butcher's section that they have is the Sunday dinner pack.
Ooh.
And it's a vacuum sealed pack of 1 pound of each beef, veal, and pork ground, 6 hot sausages, 6 sweet sausages, and 2 bruschel.
2 bruschel,
and it's all in one giant, like one of those styrofoam like plate things with like the plastic wrap over it.
Yeah,
and you can just be like, I'm gonna make all of this.
My dad actually got something like that a few months ago from the place he goes to, and I forget if it's in Rockland or Westchester. There's a place he stops in once every couple of months to buy. Like they have really good sausage.
Nice.
So he decided to try for the first time. Like he bought it was like they had like a pack. It was kind of a slightly more abbreviated version. I think the meatballs were already made, and it was a bruschel and some sausage or whatever. And so we threw that in with the sauce and all.
Delicious. Well, you gotta love a Sunday dinner. Do you put the whole head of garlic in the sauce?
I don't know. I mean, we don't usually skimp on the garlic. But.
Sure. Well, yeah. So, like, we slice or crush, however you want to make it, the garlic, obviously, into the sauce itself. But we also, when the sauce is stewing, we'll put a whole head in there, and it'll cook with the skin on. The whole head just goes in there. Yeah. And then at the end, when it's done, you take that out and you peel it and you pop out the very soft pieces. They're so delicious.
So my mom has done a couple of different chicken dishes that have that. One of them was literally called like 40 cloves of garlic and like
nice.
So she just like popped them off so they were like kind of suffused throughout like the dish because it was in like a white wine like chicken broth type of sauce or whatever. There's another one she's done where like you like just chop off like the root end, but leave the whole rest of it covered and throw like the whole head in.
Okay,
that was in more like a broth, like cacciatore type of thing.
Occasionally, I've been in the mood for this, and I will because that soft like when the garlic is soft like that, and it's mellowed out, and then you can just eat it. It's so freaking delicious.
Yeah,
But
it's
like
sweet.
the easiest way to do it is to cut a piece of the top off, drizzle it with olive oil. I usually put a little bit of the crushed red pepper on top of that, and then you wrap it in foil, but leave the top just slightly peeking open, and you just roast it for
in the oven.
40
Yeah,
minutes.
I've seen that. Yeah. They've done that too. They don't usually put the hot pepper on it, but just wrap it in the tinfoil like that. Yeah, definitely.
I'm hungry.
I'm not. I've been trying to really commit to cutting down a bit, and so I've done intermittent fasting off and on for a while,
Sure.
And so even that has been whatever. So I've been trying to literally just have one meal a day. It's required tremendous discipline, but that's the whole point, is to break, because I don't always have the discipline where it's like, I'm like an hour earlier than I'm hungry, let's just eat now, and then like that just sets me up to fail later on. So like I'll literally not eat anything until I get home, and so at that point, like I can literally just eat as much as I want for dinner because I've consumed 0 calories. So even if I eat something obnoxious, it's like 2,200 calories, and someone my size and as active as I am at work, that's still a deficit. So
you were like, I was going to eat that anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's basically literally what it is. It's like, I might have eaten 90% of this anyway, so well. Like it's.
Oh man, so you got anything else for consumption?
Yeah, so I went to see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania on Monday since I had the day off. I liked it. I will not spoil anything for you. I've seen the reviews are just wide-ranging. Like, wide.
I was going to say, I'm glad to hear that you say you liked it, because I haven't read anything. I've seen a couple of hot takes that were all negative, and I was like, oh, stop that.
So that's basically what I've been seeing. I haven't read any actual reviews. Mm-hmm. I've just seen just like a
tagline and score is pretty much what
stuff like that, or just like a tweet like referencing it, like not reviewing it, just like referencing it or whatever. And like I know it's like tanking on like Rotten Tomatoes. I gotta be honest. Maybe if I saw it a second time, I would feel less generous towards it. But where I'm at right now, after having watched it one time, is that in all of Phase 4 and 5, which is like everything post Endgame, it's probably the third best behind the 2 Spider-Man movies.
Cool.
Like I would probably put it a notch ahead of Doctor Strange, which I had really liked. So
okay, that's great.
Like, I would say
makes me excited.
For me personally, those 2 competed pretty heavily. I would probably give the nod to this one. But to be fair, I've seen the Doctor Strange movie twice now, and I've seen this one once. But I liked it. I mean, it's weird.
Sure.
My like impressions, I
expect nothing less.
My vague impressions of it, it's like it's weird. It's I think by far the weirdest of the Ant-Man movies. It makes sense when you consider that 90 to 95% of it take place in the quantum realm. And actually, technically, it's not even in the quantum realm. It's like another level down from the quantum realm. Well, because like there's like just a full blown like on like the order of like an intergalactic society down there, and it's like there's even a line where like Scott's like, we studied it pretty seriously, and I never saw any like sign of life, and Janet's like, we're like even further down. Then like you like couldn't actually. There's no way to see this.
I'm so excited. I want to see it. I'm so pumped. Okay.
There's a couple of cool cameos. One for sure that I think everyone more or less knew about, and one that surprised me. I'm sure other people who know the actual comic lore better knew what it was going to be, but I didn't. I was genuinely pleasantly surprised by it. I think Jonathan Majors has taken the baton from himself as Kang in Loki, and was even more fantastic in this, just by virtue of getting more screen time. I still probably didn't have enough screen time in this. Okay. He's a fantastic actor, man. Like he's like fucking my age too, like which is like not fair. He's a really freaking good actor. Not that like just like their role in a Marvel role should be like the be all and end all of how you like evaluate someone's acting talents, but he's really good, and he's just giving 110% in every scene, basically, whether he's going big or small.
You just went out there with 110%.
Yeah,
just like Brendan Fraser in The Whale.
Yeah, whoa. Like he's not just going big. There's some like really small, quiet scenes with him in this too.
Cool.
I won't give out how and why that is.
Mm-hmm.
But he's great, and the whole cast
Excellent.
and characters is fun.
No, this is great. This makes me so happy because I was a little bit bummed when I heard initial impressions. So now I'm like, good.
I was surprised to see, like, I was seeing more negative than positive, but from what I'm seeing is like there's like a wide range of like opinions on it. I liked it. I thought it was good. I mean, it's not like an all timer. It wouldn't crack like probably my top 10, but there's now 31 of them, I think. So
sure,
there's no shame in being in the, let's call it 11 to 20 range of that. Like,
I was gonna say, you're in the top half.
Probably, yeah. It's most likely in the 11 to 15 range, somewhere like that. I have to sit down and do the math on like all the order of them, but I really liked it. I guess tentatively, I'll put my score as somewhere in the 7.5 to 8 range.
Awesome. That's what I expected. I'm not expecting a 10. That's kind of exactly.
It's not perfect. There's a couple of clunky things that could have probably been a smidge better, but like,
sure,
it's a good movie. It's okay for a movie to just be good. It doesn't have to be the best or worst thing ever. It's fine to be fine. Right.
Yep, I agree. I'm pumped. Can't wait to see it. Cool. Any other consumption?
Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard, but the new season of The Mandalorian starts a week from now. 6 days from now. 6 days from now. Next Wednesday.
From now.
Highly elusive.
Highly elusive.
So, I had mentioned it to my parents because they like The Mandalorian. That's the only show that they've watched of Star Wars. And my mom's like, oh, like, refresh my mind, like what happened at the end of it? And I was like, told her, she was like, oh yeah, like most of that sounds familiar. I was like, but you guys are be kind of confused how things pick up because Book of Boba Fett is basically half a Mandalorian. So I was like, all right, let's try and watch this. I said, basically, we have 2 weeks to watch 7 episodes. I think we'll be able to manage it. We did it in like 5 days. So watched all of the Book of Boba Fett start to finish last week. So they're all caught up. It's kind of nice to see it again. I don't remember exactly how we scored all of it. I think we liked it, right? But it was, I don't think we panned it as much as some other people were, but it definitely has its flaws.
It's not the best.
I even actually felt a little bit fonder towards it the second time around, surprisingly.
I mean, I think there it has its moments in the early parts of the season, but then when it becomes, as we talked about, when it's The Mandalorian season 2.5, that's when it gets good.
Yeah. But I felt like it dragged even slightly less than I felt the first time, which is surprising. I would have thought that experience would have gone opposite.
The parts that drag, because they dragged for multiple weeks, like it stretched, like those storylines were concise, like they were like one thing, but they weren't progressing the story much. It was just kind of going back and filling something out for an entire week, and then you had to wait a whole week. I think that's why it felt longer maybe in the past, but if you were watching them one after the other, it probably felt like you were moving through it at a much steadier.
Yeah, but
that's cool.
Yeah, we went through all that. Parents enjoyed it. They're all caught up. This way we can jump right into Mando season 3 without a lot of like kicking and screaming and all that. So
the Elio says Grogu anytime he sees him now, which is
perfect.
Excellent. It just means I'm succeeding as a father.
Oh yeah. Grogu's training with Luke was met with a lot of appreciation. His little ears were ridiculous, and him doing little force leaps while Luke's walking, explaining.
Forgot all about that. Now I want to rewatch it.
I kind of forgot about it too, and like Luke just like using his hand to gently like give him a little force push so he can leap alongside.
When he's walking with him, that's so good. Oh man, that's fun. Cool. I kind of want to rewatch seasons 1 and 2 of Ted Lasso before the new season. I think I could probably pull it.
I would have loved to do that too. There's probably no chance I get through all of it.
Yeah, I feel like with we have like what, 2 or 3 weekends, and some weekdays.
Forget exactly. I know it's middle of March, 17th or something like that.
I think so. Yeah, 15th. I think we'll be all right. I think we can pull it off. Awesome.
That's it for me for consumption.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good at consumption as well. I am debating. I have an evening to myself tomorrow. I am probably would like to play some games, but I think I'm going to try to knock out an Oscar movie that any number of the ones that Kim's not super into. So I'm thinking maybe I think the most accessible one at the moment is probably All Quiet on the Western Front. So I might watch that one.
Okay.
I am largely interested in the Elvis movie, even though I don't care for Elvis. After seeing some interviews and stuff, I'm like, oh, I actually kind of want to watch it now.
I forgot. I actually have a future consumption, which hopefully will be executed in the next 24 hours. I'm going to probably go see Cocaine Bear tomorrow night.
Amazing. Fantastic. Definitely excited to hear how that goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, let us get into our flick of the week. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Released in 2022, rated PG-13 with a 2-hour and 41-minute runtime. A hefty run.
It is.
The people of Wakanda fight to protect their home from intervening world powers as they mourn the death of King T'Challa. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Why don't you kick us off with your toot-length review?
Saddled with the impossible task of picking up the pieces from the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, Wakanda Forever does its best to advance the narrative arc of the Black Panther and the MCU, while telling a story of loss and grief. To admirable, but mixed results. 7 out of 10.
That's a much deeper version of how, I completely agree with everything that you said, but my version of it was much shorter and doesn't really shed enough light.
I was trying to do it shorter, and I kept not actually conveying what I wanted to, so it just kept getting longer and longer and longer until I could figure out how to pare it down into something that was still coherent.
That's fair. I feel like if you read between the lines of mine, you can maybe decipher that. But while it pays wonderful homage, Wakanda Forever never quite finds its footing. 7 out of 10. I feel like I give it credit in the beginning, right? Because they really do a wonderful job with that piece of it. There's friction. It doesn't quite know how to be what it is it's trying to be, but it's not bad. Yeah. It's a 7 out of 10.
Well, I think my review ended up mirroring what the movie itself was, where it was like it took longer to say what it was trying to say because it had to account for outside circumstances.
Yeah, for sure.
Both that movie with respect to the passing of Chadwick Boseman and my review with respect to what they did with respect to Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, I'll say the opening, the way they did the opening, like a good, I don't know, was it like, it felt like maybe 15 minutes. Like we're going to focus in on this. Like, this is not what we planned.
Yeah.
This is the reality of the thing, but let's really give a minute to digest this as the place setting for where we're going to go. And I think
it probably took 15 minutes to kill off that character, mourn that character with a funeral, and then set the table for these people picking up the pieces from all of that.
Right.
There is no efficient way to do that and do it justice to set up an entire movie that's going to make any sort of sense. Mm-hmm. And you can't just do everyone's sad now, let's just do the movie we're planning on doing before he died. Like, there's no way to do that. So I'm sure they probably took the framework for what they were planning on doing in that movie, but now had to graft it onto a different or a altered set of characters where all of the people who, basically, it's like in, let's say it like in sports, like in baseball or basketball, when, you have a team, but they're built around a star player. And when that star player gets injured, the second best player now has to be the best player, and the third best player needs to be the second best player. And in the same way, you have a compelling cast of characters that were built to support King T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, and without him, you both have to acknowledge all of that and understand and discount for that. But also now you put a greater burden on all of those support characters as everyone moves up into a more important role than they would have had. And I think they did a good job of writing this to allow them to. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep occasionally pointing back to that, which is why like you get a whole funeral, have like an entire act of this movie, and then come back to like a secondary funeral between his mother and sister to continue to show why like they aren't operating at full efficiency and they aren't making decisive choices in the way that they would have in the absence of the death of T'Challa and T'Chaka. Like, because like again, this is not that long past even when he died. So
right, yeah, that's a
like
good point.
those things continue to stack and stack and stack, and then when you get into this movie, like now the mother dies as well. It's like the Will Smith like where did everyone go like meme from like the end of Fresh Prince, where like you've now put so much on Shuri's shoulders, both narratively within the movie as well as like externally breaking the fourth wall of like Letitia Wright and Ryan Coogler have to come up with so much for her to do to make up for this giant vacancy that's been created in what was originally an all-star cast.
Yeah, that's true, and there's one other level at play here, which is like over the years from movie to movie, the next villain had to feel more dangerous than the previous thing that we've conquered, right? And that all led to the end of the Infinity Saga, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like it's all so very good, but now we're in this weird level of like, okay, well, what's the next? I feel like they're trying to make it like, oh, this thing is also really really bad, but it's like, yeah, but it's manageable. Like it works in this sense because like it is almost like the B team is trying to handle it, which is like, okay, cool. That's not that compelling though, that piece of it. So then it's like, well, there is something interesting to be said for this new character Namor. Is like it introduces mutants to the MCU, right? And it
maybe.
And
listen, he didn't choose that word coincidentally. I totally with you on that.
Yeah.
My suspicion is we're still a ways away, and he's considering he has a very specific origin story. I don't think he actually is the one that gets mutants into the MCU.
Sure.
I think that's going to be
just dipping their toe in.
I think the mutants thing. I think that's just more. Yeah, dipping your toe. It's just. How does that word make you feel? Like, can you just kind of get used to that word being around?
It was a case study. They're just like, okay, yeah, like just a little interview with viewers after the movie.
Because I think ultimately
ready for this yet? No. Okay, we'll wait a little while longer.
My suspicion is that the mutants will ultimately be introduced via the multiverse stuff.
Yeah, that seems to be likely. But okay, so then we have this character, and like it is a compelling character. Like it is Namor is like, oh, he's definitely OP, and they work around that, which makes sense. But there's just something to it of like we faced worse, so like this aspect of it can't be the central point of the movie, which it's not really.
Yeah, but also I think there's something to be said for. They faced worse, but they also had better.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I don't know. But something about that though, I feel like will hold back a movie like this, or probably a whole bunch of movies in the last two phases from being great, because it's like you can't really do the same thing anymore because you've already leveled up so many times. You're gonna have to start taking more interesting approaches to it. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. That being said, the performances are fantastic in the movie. I think everybody does a great job.
Oh yeah.
With maybe like, and not to knock Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but that character is a little bit too campy for the MCU.
I'm sorry. What?
There's something about it that feels very Schumacher Batman. Like I don't know why.
Listen, and this is not meant as criticism in any way, shape, or form, but like we're talking about a sequel to Black Panther that had Andy Serkis as Ulysses Claw, with a prosthetic gun arm.
Yes,
Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character is not campier than him.
It's just, I don't know. It's just a different angle, and it doesn't. She's also very shoehorned into the movie. Like, it's just not.
Well, that part I won't totally disagree with.
But like, if you're gonna have like, there's also the point that Serkis's performance is bananas, batshit crazy, and extremely captivating. Whereas,
I didn't mean that
character is and why, and the camp level hurts it.
I didn't mean it slightly as criticism, because he's fantastic in that role. He's playing an 11 intentionally and nailing it.
Yeah.
But when you reach an 11, that automatically launches you to the top of camp rankings. That's my point.
Mm.
I mean, he comes in and he's like rapping. He's like talking about his like rap album in like a South Korean casino, and he's firing from his ridiculous.
That was so ridiculous.
That's so like there's nothing Julia Louis-Dreyfus done could have like come close to what that was. And again, that's not even criticism or praise or anything. Like,
I should also clarify, it's not her; it's the character. I don't.
Oh,
get
sure.
This character.
No, I understand what you mean.
It's a weird. It's just I understand they introduced the character and now they feel they need to do something with it, but they haven't figured out what that thing is, or if they have not revealed it to me yet. Because
she's, from what I understand, that character is the person who will ultimately coalesce the group called, I don't remember what, but I forget what the name of that group is. But what's his name?
The MCU's Suicide Squad, basically.
Not exactly. I guess it's maybe kind of similar, but it's the Wyatt Russell character from the Captain America and Winter Soldier show that she was first introduced in. Riri Williams, I think, will probably be part of that group as well. What's her name from Black Widow, the sister, as well as
Yelena, is that her name?
Sure, as well as the one who was the villain in the suit in that movie. The Olga Kurylenko character.
Right.
She's also part of that group. And there's
wasn't Taskmaster.
Yes, that one. Like that group, and I always forget what that group's called. She's the one who kind of puts that together, which is why she keeps popping up for 5 minutes in all of these properties.
Yeah, just to connect the dots.
She's basically Thunderbolt Ross Light.
Yeah, there's something about I understand that, right? They're trying to create cohesion between the shows and the movies, but that character's presence in this movie brings the movie to a screeching halt, to a point that is very painful to me.
So I think they made a gambit where, because of how much of the main storyline deals with loss and grief and mourning and all that, and how to process those things, they felt like they needed to add levity somewhere, and it's like the Mark Hamill line from The Last Jedi: "Powerful dark, powerful light." Like she's the overcorrection to try and bring it back into balance. I would agree with you to the extent that I don't think it works.
Yeah,
exactly. But I at least understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't know though, because like I feel like you got that levity with now I can't remember the character's name. Denai Guerra's character, Okoye. With her, she's really funny in this. And
but also we see her like openly weeping too. Like, so she like has like a wide emotional range. Like, she's great in this movie.
Yeah, she really. But that whole sequence when they go to the dormitory and she sneaks in through the bathroom as the girl's trying to sneak, like that whole exchange is hilarious. Farce. And that was total your farce. Moment, I feel like, of fun.
Sure, but the point is that they're never going to just have one scene. Like, they're going to try and still sprinkle a thing here and there. I don't think it worked, but like that's what they're trying to do in that moment. And like, you have an incredible comedic actress, so it's like, why not try and make use of that? I largely agree with your point that it doesn't succeed, but I don't really oppose them trying. It just didn't work.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird. It was like,
Okoye and Shuri's banter tends to be pretty great.
That's good.
It was better when the two of them were playing like kind of good cop, bad cop to T'Challa, but in the absence of him, them just kind of having like a buddy cop situation is pretty funny. And like after watching The Walking Dead, I never would have thought of Denai Guerrera as having like excellent comedic timing, and I feel like she nails it in all of every time she's been this character in all of the whether it be the Infinity War, Endgame, this Black Panther. Like I think she like considering how often she's meant to be the serious one when she cracks a one-liner, it really has some gravitas and weight to it. I appreciate that from someone who I would have think is more of a serious actor as opposed to a comedic one. I think that's part of what makes it so funny is like that dichotomy being brought all into one.
I completely agree. The what's cool for me like with the movie, like I do think that it gets off to like a really good start because like obviously the pre-credit sequence was wonderful, but then like going right into it, the whole like I don't know what group of people that was supposed to be. Like the Angela Bassett's character Ramonda is like walks into that office of like there's like
it's the UN.
But is it the UN or is it? It's like whatever they call it, right? I feel like they had a different name.
It was like the Security Council.
UN Security Council. But that whole sequence of them like being like, okay, this is we're gonna like get one over and we're gonna finally get some like access to vibranium, and they were just like that like mic drop moment of like you tried, we're gonna let you have this one, but if you do this again, we will destroy you. And like in much more PC verbiage. Yes. that's the takeaway. It's like look. The reason you don't have access to this is we know you will fuck this up. So if you try to get it again, we will fuck you up.
It's the same thing as like when like you have that conversation when you're like a teenager and like you're kind of thinking about maybe sneaking some of your parents' alcohol, but like they're wise to the fact that you're at the point where you're thinking about sneaking your parents' alcohol, and it's like respect the effort, but you're in for a world of pain if.
But you were so grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so moving on from that, then we have like these characters, was it Lake Bell and whoever she's working with, and they're
and that guy.
They're in the ocean and they're tracking vibranium with this tracker thing, which is just a plot movement device to get us to this character that created it. But like the whole thing, like both the first time and then the second time, because I couldn't remember having these thoughts the first time I watched the movie, I was like, wait, do I know these characters? Did I miss something? Like, is there something like, because like this is a known actor, like what's going on here? And it's very clunky, and it's like the siren song starts and it's like, oh, it's the Wakandans. It was, well, hang on, let's pump the brakes for a second. Why?
Yes, the Wakandans, notorious for swimming out of the middle of the ocean and singing.
Yep, that was just felt. I was like, but like, I remember
it was a scene from
an issue with it.
It was a scene from The Other Guys when they get attacked and Mark Wahlberg goes, "It's Colombian drug lords." Where are you getting that from?
But like, what bothers me about it is like the first time I feel like I didn't have enough. I'm just in the moment watching the movies, so I'm not dissecting it as much. But like the second time through, I'm like, oh, okay. First off, pump the brakes. Secondly, this whole siren song thing is really cool. Like the sound effect the sound design in this movie is fantastic. And I was like, this is bonkers. The characters jumping off the ship, I'm like, that's like, it's very eerie and creepy. I was like, oh, this movie's like, it's got some kind of like mysterious thriller vibes going on from it. It's awesome. And it's like, okay, put the earbuds in because clearly they're mind controlling. And I'm like, wait a second, why do you have those? As if he knew this was going to be a thing.
Well, no, he didn't say mind control, which is important. He said it's some sort of sonic attack, which makes sense because all of the people outside could hear something and the people inside couldn't quite hear it. So it does make.
But
so I agree.
Have those earplugs at the ready though, like
well, they came in on a helicopter, so
okay, maybe.
So I agree. The first time I saw it, I thought that scene was a little chaotic with like. The foreknowledge of what happened going in the second time, I actually think it made more sense to me the second time around because I gonna wait for you to change your headphones.
Hi. I missed what you said.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I said I was with you the first time where like I was kind of confused. But having that foreknowledge going in the second time, it's not as clunky and chaotic as it seemed the first time, in my opinion. The second time around, I still had that moment of, oh god, it's the Wakandans, but it does make sense when you consider it's right after the scene where they tried to steal some of this shit from them, were slapped on the wrist. They've been making conscious efforts to block anyone access to it, so they go out on their own and try to find stuff outside of Wakanda, and immediately they get attacked. Logically, you can understand why they would jump to the conclusion that it's the Wakandans. And also, I think I might have missed it or didn't quite process it the first time I saw it, but at the end, when she escapes on the helicopter, well, almost escapes on the helicopter, when she's on the helicopter and they think they've escaped, she makes a call immediately. We don't know who that receives that call, and she says, it's not the Wakandans.
Oh, okay.
They're blue, and then the helicopter gets tugged by
blue guys.
Exactly. So she never gets to finish that thought.
Okay.
But they actually do go full circle on it.
She takes it back.
Because they came on a helicopter, it makes sense that they would have in-ear earplugs, because a lot of times with something like that, you would have the foam ones that go in your ears and then have the over-the-ear ones like what we're wearing on top of that to preserve for a long flight. That's what you would do for all that. So it actually... That whole sequence is pretty well written, but I agree. The first time I watched it, I was also a little thrown by how chaotic it seemed.
I'll allow that. The next one, I'm gonna need some help getting past. Blue guys come out of the water. Really cool scene, right? The jump out of the water, throw the spear thing. Awesome. Shoot that guy. No effect. Right? Awesome. Very cool. They have, I don't know, super intense skin. I don't know yet. I don't care.
Also, if you pay attention, they've gotten better at this with the advent of CGI, but this is kind of a borderline Stormtrooper-esque, but if you notice the shots when he says like shoot him and like the person shoots like at the whatever that guy's name was, who was like the one of the two henchmen of Namor, the big guy, he shoots him in the chest. Every bullet pops off of one of the straps he's wearing across his chest.
Sure.
And you would assume that that's made of vibranium, considering all their shit's made of vibranium.
I guess.
Now, I'll agree, it strains credulity that like the strips don't cover a lot of surface area, that the bullets would only hit there. But to be fair, at least visually they're delivering to you, you see the bullets pinging off of the straps.
Yeah, sure. But then to be followed up by, I'm going to immediately be able to one-shot everybody else, like while running away.
Well, the ones who don't have vibranium plot armor, yes.
the most effective plot armor. For sure. But like it's weird because it's like almost like it's a like.
But they
is super powerful, right? He is super strong. Whereas but they're not quite that level.
No, but they are still strong. He said, I think it was him. He says, "I have like an army that like dwarfs yours, and all of them are superhuman. Not to his level, but in their own right, they are still more than the average man."
Yeah. Still, it was weird. Anyway, that was the introduction of those folks, which was cool. Some very cool visual stuff. The music, the music and sound design of this movie is fantastic.
Well, I've always really liked that kind of like war chant sound with like like kind of like the electronic beat underneath, like we were talking earlier with when they well, I don't think that's the one I was thinking of, but that theme that they play it a few times throughout, but like to me it kind of actualizes the most in this movie when they thwart the theft and they're bringing the prisoners into that UN council meeting, and as the door Milan that sound I've always thought was a really cool
so
theme.
Good.
The siren thing was really cool. I remember the first time I saw it, like I was like, what the hell is that? And then like you see them coming up and singing and the people jumping off. I was like, oh, they're literally sirens. That's badass.
That's so cool. Oh man. So we do get we got an Namor introduction, which was cool. I have this idea of like, okay, like this threat is it is kind of interesting to like where we've been dealing with so much and now that is over here. Like, come on. like it's like throwing them for a loop. It's kind of cool. But when they introduce his backstory, and they do that whole thing where they come to the land and he's got the little wings and he like flies up into the air. There's something extremely terrifying about that scene, and like they nail it.
It's creepy.
And well, good on them for it, because that was I was like, ugh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Like, what's he gonna do to these people? He's gonna murder them. But it's creepy. The underwater. Speaking of the music and the sound design, the whole like underwater tour that Shuri takes.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Also, it's just I couldn't visually stunning.
I couldn't understand a word in that song, but it was badass.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the whole underwater thing. On the one hand, I think maybe it was truer to it, because I thought some of what they did in the Aquaman movie was really cool, but it was probably too artificially lit.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of like the water hair effect stuff was cool with all of that, but like this felt truer to like what you would expect when you're like so far under the water that you have to worry
under the sea.
When you're being like kind of flirtatious with this person who's maybe your frenemy, and oh no, you can't possibly go down there, or crush you, and oxygen would get pushed out of your bloodstream and your lungs would burst. Or you could wear a suit. But like when they go down there, I think it's cool that they're like, considering like the whole origin of the society is that they were like chased out of slavery in like 1500s, like Central America, and you see that that game, I forget what it's called, that like it was the Mayans or the Aztecs had, where they bumped the ball through the ring back and forth, which I'm pretty sure was played with severed human heads in real life, but
sure,
thankfully wasn't in this case. But yeah, just to have that, and like the fact that you have like kind of those like, I'm not enough of an archaeologist to know if it was Mayan or Aztec type of temple, like that is the architecture that they built for themselves below the sea as well.
Mm-hmm.
And
but it belongs in a museum.
So do you. All of that, I thought that sequence was really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome. So here's where like one of those things where like I feel like they were on to something, and then they went like they kind of just slightly miss it. Is Namor's plan obviously bad? Right? Not a good plan. It's your obvious bad guy plan.
It's a lesser version of the Killmonger plan from the first one.
Yeah. But what's compelling is that Shuri is in the absolute perfect position to be manipulated by this idea right now, in this moment. And I'm thinking that, and when they start relaying the plan, I'm like, this is kind of cool. I feel like she's going to be able to see eye to eye on this, and then have to internally struggle around it. But she immediately is like, no. I'm like, missed opportunity.
But well, it's funny. As much as that part's true, it's funny. I actually kind of was a little surprised, because what very little I know about this character going in. Apparently, in the comics, like Namor was like horny as fuck.
Okay,
he's like one of the horniest characters in Marvel history, apparently.
Oh,
yeah. So I assumed this was going to end with them forming some sort of marriage pact, and that's like the way that you kind of like temper the whole like blood feud war thing that was going on. And they did lay the groundwork with like a little bit of flirtatious stuff, like, hey, come check out my apartment vibes, but instead it's my underwater like kingdom I built. And he got to go see a little bit of Wakanda, then comes back and gets to see like some of that city, and like they kind of trade stories, and he gives her his like mom's thing, like the bracelet and all that. And they left that extremely like out of the final resolution of all of this. And that's fine. There's still probably enough threads that if they want to chase that down somewhere down the line, I guess you could.
They could.
But it also, after watching that and then watching Quantumania, I realized it's fine, but it's like it's now becoming like oddly noteworthy how chaste the MCU is. Like, we got some really bad flirtation between Hulk and Black Widow, and did they kiss one time? And there's a weird thing of like no like romantic interaction between Scott and Hope in this new movie, and I guess
that's interesting.
You kind of get some like eyes between Peter and Gamora,
right?
And is Thor and Jane the most that we've ever gotten? Like 10 years ago. It starts to strain credulity at a certain point. Like you're not going to get like pornographic sex scenes, and I don't think anyone wants that from this.
No.
That's not what I'm advocating on behalf of. But like at a certain point, like there is.
I guess Tony and Pepper have a kid, but there is
extremely off screen. Yeah,
there's no real. Yeah, there's nothing. That I had never even. I
first noticed it,
and now I can't unnotice it.
Yeah, I first noticed it during Age of Ultron because the flirting was so bad and the chemistry was so bad between Mark Ruffalo and Scarlett Johansson. Like it's so bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
And I was like, oh yeah, they've never really committed to doing this. Like, there's been a couple of like,
yeah.
I guess you'd have to probably go back to Liv Tyler and Edward Norton, and Edward Norton doesn't exist in these movies anymore.
Yeah. Well, in Winter Soldier, Black Widow and Steve Rogers do kiss that one time on the escalator, and it's very scandalous.
Yeah, like, because and also something. Also, like apparently zero actual emotion and all that. They literally do it to hide from guys who are chasing them down.
Yeah,
they literally use it as a cover.
Yeah.
And then, like, he has that awkward kiss with his former crush's great niece in the next movie.
Sure.
I don't understand how it's possible for them to have gone through 30 movies and not have, like, a credible romance. And again, I'm not talking about, like, it has to be, like, racy or rated R, but, like, you don't even really see, like, any sort of, like, romantic...
No time for love, Dr. Jones. No time for love.
I'm just saying it kind of strains credulity at this point, and
yeah, like, you're not wrong.
Like we've all watched Game of Thrones, like marriage pacts are a thing to like end wars and like harden alliances, and like it would have made sense. You have a godlike king and a godlike queen uniting these two vibranium-related cultures that ostracized from the rest of humanity.
We did have something in Black Panther in the original. It wasn't like. He's clearly into. What's Nakoy? What's her name? Nakia. So they have
they flirt a bit, and like I'm guessing you saw the post credits, so you know.
Yeah, they have an off screen kid too.
Extremely off screen.
Yeah. Wow, that's really funny. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna know. I feel like I'm gonna really notice this now. Like the actual effort to not do it. Is now becoming more and more prevalent. Like,
and that's what I'm observing is like they're they're creating a tremendous amount of strain and effort to not do it.
It's going to become the Diane Kruger chastity belt. This is just
someone needs to call the locksmith for the MCU.
So you had mentioned that Namor is supposed to be the horniest character in the MCU, but I would argue that Ulysses Klaue was probably the horniest character. Like, just not for anything in particular, but all things.
You could argue that he's horny for life. You could.
Yeah.
Although I would argue that while many creatures have both, he has claws, not horns. Wow, that took you way too long.
Ridiculous. He's clawy for it. Oh my god. That's ridiculous. Wow, that's really bizarre. Why is that? That's a choice. That's a choice that's been made.
That's really what I'm remarking on.
Right? You don't accidentally have no romance in 33 movies.
That is exactly my point. It's like it's really weird that they've gone this far, and like you can't go this far and be where they are without it being an active perpetual choice.
They're just saving this all for Disney Plus, which is like a Disney After Dark streaming service.
Disney X Plus.
Disney XD takes on a whole new meaning.
Oh, God. Well, I'm just picturing like, you know, they have the animation in like Disney Plus, and then the plus just turns 45 degrees and or to 90 degrees and it's now an X. Or it would be 45 degrees, yeah. The plus just turns 45 degrees and it's now max.
The plus turns 90 degrees and nothing changes. Oh, man. This was one of those movies, though, where with the effects, like to your point earlier in the show, I feel like they're 90% really good.
Yeah.
And then there's like an occasional, what was that? Which is such a bizarre thing.
Yeah, because like I think most of like the Namor stuff was pretty good, and then there's a couple of times where he's like really like skating through the air, which is like, huh?
Yeah,
It's like cool
I will
concept,
say,
not great execution.
If this movie has highlighted anything, it's, I mean, well, two things I guess now at this point. One, there's a severe lack of romance in the MCU, and two, there's also a severe lack of M'Baku, because he is just a tremendous character.
It seemed like, I mean,
in many ways.
It seemed like there was definitely like a conscious effort to get him a little bit more involved, specifically in like, the politicking and intrigue as opposed to the action sequences. You got a little bit of that as well, but it was like such weird concentrations of him throughout the movie where like he wasn't on screen for 45 minutes and then like he had like 3 scenes across like 5. And it's like, can we like pace him a little bit more evenly? Or
But well, first off, I love when he's like sincere, right? And he's very helpful to Shuri. He guides her in a lot of ways when she's lost, which I think is awesome. But when that one scene where he just starts going, ooh, and everybody's following along, like the pitch of that is so perfect. Again, sound design. I'm just like, this, I could watch this on repeat. This is just excellent. There's so much is conveyed in that one sound.
Yeah. Now, I also want to talk about,
he just straight up walks on screen and eats a carrot
as he's walking into that meeting. Yep. It's like a super serious scene, and to the point where I wondered whether that was just Winston Duke eating a carrot, and he walked into the scene and they're like, Winston, he goes, no, let's just go with it, and like that became part of the final cut. Like,
I hope so,
because otherwise, why would that be a part of that?
Right. Well, I mean, it does work with the character, right? Like where he is like, I like this, like Sarah, like no, like it doesn't. I'm hungry, like I don't even care.
But it's just him chomping on a carrot, like
it's so ridiculous. When Shuri goes to the ancestral plane and sees Killmonger. Fantastic. That's such an oh shit moment, right? Yes. That is like, oh, this is so good.
Because I think everyone assumes it's going to be Queen Ramonda, right? Like,
I thought they might go for it with a CG T'Challa.
Now, everything they talked about, it sounded like, I mean, the fact that you don't even see him on his deathbed, like, I don't think they would have betrayed it. With that,
like, I don't think they should have. I just thought, like, the way that the movie was going, I thought that's where it was going to end up.
No, but, if you heard all the conversation around it all this time, I mean, like, it sounded like they were trying to be very respectful of him and had the intention of trying to recreate him because
which is great,
a good way to do it. Especially, it's way too soon for that. But I thought, considering her mom just died,
yeah,
I figured that's the way, because that's what they did with T'Challa, right? Like technically his father had just died chronologically when he does that and sees him on the ancestral plane. So my assumption, I think that's what they're leading for you, is you assume you want it to be her brother. No, it can't be. You assume it's going to be her mother, and then for it to be Killmonger instead. That's such a great twist.
It is a twist. I was also part of me. I did wonder. I was like, as it starts, I'm like, okay, who's she going to see? Like, are they going to do it? I hope not. I don't think they would do it, and they probably won't. Is it going to be nobody? That was another thing that crossed my mind, and I was like, oh, what will that mean for her? Like, but then Killmonger, I was like, oh, this is so much worse.
Yeah, well, but it's actually perfect to where the character is at, like in that exact moment. It was actually pretty damn good, and I love that he mirrored the same question that Namor had already. Like when she had asked, like, how, and he mirrors back that exact same line. How is never as important as why. To bring that full circle, as like pointing this entire lesson is like, why is any of this happening? Why is Namor driven to this point? Why are you driven to this point? That is much more important than any of the other shit that's gone on. Everything else is window dressing. What's more important is, why has it come to this, and what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Man, that was cool. We get a pretty epic final battle.
Yeah. I thought it was mostly pretty well done.
MCU fashion. Yeah, for sure. I will say the one thing that I thought was odd was like at the end of it seemed like it was very clear that they were like, she just killed Namor after all of this, like, because of like it was a pretty intense, let's blow this thing up while he's weak, boom, and then he gets fried and his eyes are open and he falls face down onto the ground. Like, oh wow, cool, like they did that. But then he's okay because we need him for more. I was just like, that felt a little weird to me, and I thought they were just going to commit to it.
I was a little confused at first as well, but I mean, when you think about it, like, he's not really standing that close to the thing when she blows it up or whatever, right? So
no, but he's completely engulfed in flames. Yeah,
but even being dried out, like, he still is pretty powerful.
Is powerful, yeah, that's true. And then it's such a slap in the face though that after all of this at the end of the movie, he's just like, well, even though she beat me, like, we're totally going to use them. Yeah. I'm like, can't change the stripes.
Well, that it's possible. The way I interpreted it more was he was trying to save face, where it was the first time he faced a challenge in 500 years that he couldn't best, and so he's got to maintain this appearance to his people who are now questioning him. Like, no one ever questioned him the entire movie, and now one of his top lieutenants is like, hey, you said this was going to go a different way, and now, like, you're just going to, like, be their little bitches? And he's like, no. We're going to use them. I assure you. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Is it fine? Yeah.
I did appreciate that whole final fight sequence. At least, like, they tried to do some different things, like incorporating the different levels of, like, the Jabari tribe, like, being the muscle and the backbone, while the Dora Milaje are going through the acrobatics.
Yeah, that was cool.
Seeing the power with the grace, and then mixing in the Ironheart suit as well as the two suits that were made for Nakia and Okoye.
Those were so badass, also.
Yeah, getting that kind of that extra fight between Okoye and the guy who works for Namor, who I'll never remember his name if they ever said it.
Atuma?
Yeah, him. I appreciated that fight choreography and amongst all of that, and, like, the different ways she was using the suit was pretty cool.
Again, like, I feel like all of that stuff is awesome, but the music and sound effects steal the show in those scenes. I don't like this. The sound design operates at a different level in this movie than in. I mean, the MCU in general is pretty damn good about it, but there's something about this movie and the previous Black Panther movie. They're like next level, awesome. So cool. The Ironheart thing was interesting. I guess, I mean, that's really more just of a character introduction, right? Like, similar to.
Oh, this wasn't a character introduction. Riri Williams was introduced before this movie came out in a Target commercial. Did you know that?
No.
So I remember seeing those commercials. I thought it was just a commercial for. I think the whole thing was about, like, promoting education amongst children and, like, a better future and all that. And it's like, I think it was kind of a back to school thing as well. I don't remember.
Okay.
And there's a young black girl who's doing, like, an engineering project, and it's like, oh, like, if you support students their whole way through, eventually they could achieve excellence at a higher level than they ever would have expected. And, like, that was, I thought, the whole point of the ad campaign. And it was like, oh, like, check out Wakanda Forever. And it was like, oh, okay, like, it's funny, they're doing, like, a, hey, you could be the next Tony Stark thing. I didn't realize that the girl in that commercial was cast to be the next Tony Stark in the movie until I saw the movie. I was like, wait, that was the girl from the fucking commercial.
That's pretty, okay, that's kind of funny.
I feel like it should have been a bigger deal, like as part of the ad campaign, like the fact that this is not just like a symbolic thing. She's actually in the movie, like in a major role.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
I do wish we would have gotten a bit of an explanation as to how she got her hands on the Stark Tech stuff, though. Like, I was fine with everything about like the character, and like there's always gonna be like super geniuses, and that's what she is, and she's clever, she's hands-on, she's doing all this stuff. She's extrapolated and doing things that people didn't think were possible, and like just by chasing down like leads of something that like no one would have considered to do. That's all great and all. And I have no problem with her applying that knowledge to being able to build her own version of Iron Man's suit, but you don't just build that from scratch. Probably, like, would have been nice to just get a thread to how she got, like, the foundation to that she was then able to build and make her
like
own.
Similar to, what is it, the Vulture, like, doing scrapping and getting all the tech needed to make...
Literally something like that, you know?
Yeah. And you know what, though? I feel like there's a possibility that they know that, and there's more to the character's origin that we'll get at a later time that helps fill that in. But
yeah, I just think it was weird considering, like, it's not like they ignored it. Like, Shuri asks her, she's like, is that Stark Tech? And she just kind of hand waves it, and, like, that's the end of the conversation. They never come back to it. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah. All that shit's online now.
I know we talked about it before, but, like, when Okoye comes into when she's hiding in the bathroom and she's like, what the fuck? And she starts throwing bigger and bigger things at her. She just sledges them out of the air. But she was... What's that?
No, I just... That reminded me of one other bullet thing that really bothers me, which was when, in the beginning, they, like, I don't know, they lightsaber blocked bullets with their spears. Just, no.
Yeah, that's...
No.
That's strange credulity as well, like, because it's just because they're people, right? If they were superheroes, it's like fine, right? But they're not. Yeah. Like, it's...
Or even, I don't know, give me one little hint about, like, the spear maybe has some sort of, like, extreme, like, magnetic-esque power that helps to, like, it actually attracts them so that you can block. Like, I don't know, they could have done something like that.
Or give me an Inquisitor style thing where, like, they could hit a motorized thing that pivots faster than, like, the human can, like, spin it type of thing.
Yeah. I love doing that fight when was it Aneka? It has the two blades. It's like, what are you, like, what are those?
Those are badass.
Yeah.
I liked her. She was funny.
Okoye is so mad about it, though.
She injected some solid snarky humor into it. I appreciated her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The Dora Milaje has always been funny. Like, I've always appreciated that group of characters together.
I feel like they're ripe for an animated series.
Okay.
Like, you know, like, just like a cool, like, they go out on whatever missions, and, like, it's really just, like, more action based, like, not really super detrimental to the story of the MCU proper, but, like, its own little thing where you get to, I don't know, it could be voiced by the same actors, like having their banter back. Like, I feel like it could make for, like, a fun group, like, animated series.
I also feel like they could have been a perfect group to make a Guardians holiday special-esque thing. It doesn't have to be a holiday special, but with that banter and them seeming to have fun, like, with all that stuff together, like, you could absolutely make, like, a 45-minute, like, not serious thing with them doing something like chasing down someone within Wakanda, or, like,
I can see that
stupid on the road. Like it's like what do they do when, like, Queen Ramonda was, like, in session, like, at the UN, and it's like them, like, you know, if they weren't, like, thwarting a terrorist attack, like, you know, it's them, like, I don't know, sitting in a cafe, like, in full armor, waiting for them to be summoned to, like, move out.
Like,
at the UN cafeteria, like, sitting in the cafeteria with, like, the spears, like on the table, like, you know, like, I feel like
better yet, after the movie where Okoye has the blues, just looking like a fish out of water.
Is this thing getting uglier every time?
Oh man, I do love Martin Freeman.
Yes,
I always have. He's just great in everything that he's in. But
underutilized in this one.
Yeah, I feel like it was like one of those things that they didn't really have a spot for him, but they like, well, you know, he's part of the Black Panther movies, so we have to bring him back. Like, didn't really do the character any justice, but him being in the like arrested and then freed by Okoye was pretty cool.
Yeah. I think he was just meant to be a tie to bringing that whole thing, like how this actually connects back to like the artists formerly known as Shield aspect of the MCU, like as they keep apprised of what's going on between these superpower nations that so transcend them in power and technology.
Yeah. And finally, the post-credit scene, which was just, that one hurt. It was so good. It was so well done. And that kid could so be their son. Like, looks like both of them, like actually has features of both of them that I was just like, where did they find this kid? Just the most adorable child. What's your real name? Oh, this is too much. I can't take it. My heart. But that kid's gonna grow up and be an absolute badass, and he's gonna be in the movies eventually.
It would be cool especially if that kid could, grow up and they could actually use him.
That would be awesome.
Those movies, like that would be really cool if that's what life has in store for him.
Yeah. Ah, man. Just what a wonderful post-credit sequence, though. Like, between the music and just think, like, it's beautiful already when she's burning the garb, and like it's like awesome. I'm like, this is great. And then the moment it snaps back in and the two of them are out of focus in the background, your heart just explodes. So, and then Venturi is like, "Did my mom know?" And she was like, "Yes." And then you can connect the dots. That's the thing that she wanted to tell her back at the water at the very beginning. It's magic. It's magic. That adds an entire point to the score of this movie. Like, it's so good. That's like when, because like in that moment, doing that scene and like putting that piece of the story together, like that's that real heart of the MCU. Like, just really understanding the characters, understanding the story, understanding what they have, like pivoting and doing what they have to do to make it work, and absolutely nailing it with that particular aspect of the storyline. I was just like, they still got it. They still
those sons of bitches. They still got
it. Anything else on Wakanda Forever?
No, I think we got all the good stuff.
Nice. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix in the Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixinthe6@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsi.
Thanks for coming out. The last word on The Last of Us. Al, we're at episode, what is this now? 5?
6.
6? That was the 6th episode?
Yeah, because there was
9. So there's 3 left.
There was the first 2 leaving Boston. The third one was Bill and Frank. There was 4 or 5 in Kansas City, and then this was 6.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's still 7, 8, and 9 left.
Cool. And the next one is the DLC, which is pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
I was curious, like, how they were going to play out certain parts of it, and like how it was going to fit into the narrative of, and like how, but like to see that they did a 3-month time jump between the previous episode and this episode, I think was clutch. And then also, I mean, tremendous on the performances. Like, it definitely feels like those characters have been together for a long period of time now, and they've become acquainted with each other. And like, I think that they really, they nailed it. Like, as far as shooting the shows go, like they didn't hang out for 3 months between those 2 episodes and then shoot the next episode. Like, that's really good acting. Like, it's just like, it's very believable. It's great writing. Like, they are hitting all of the points. They're doing I feel like they're doing so much with nods to also where things go in the second season, and like really setting up the story so that it feels more cohesive going through versus like writing a story in addition to what was already done. It's really heavy too. Like the whole Ellie finding out about Jill's daughter and like abruptly finding out about it, and then their whole standoffish, their whole not standoffish, their standoff like argument in the bedroom of like, you're not my father, and like, yeah, you're not my daughter. Like that whole thing, like shot for shot from the game, really well done. Actually, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see any of the clips that people put together where they play both scenes at the same time.
No, I haven't.
But like in moments where it matters, they really are staying very true to it. And I think that's such an awesome, it's so awesome to have the actual game creator on there, like as part of the team to make sure that it stays like in line. And it's just so good. Tommy's a great character already. Like it's just, I am so happy with how the show is coming together.
Yeah,
I feel like
really
they're doing it great.
I will say I was a little, I mean, you can argue because plot or whatever, but it comes down to the crucial decision of, is it going to be Joel or is it going to be Tommy that helps her finish her journey? And then why couldn't it have been both of them? Like Tommy was willing to do it for Joel because Joel said he couldn't do it anymore. And then he's like, oh, I have to do it. But he still has the very real fear that he's not capable. If Tommy was willing to go and do it, like why wouldn't he just go help them?
I think because Tommy like ultimately understands that it has to be done, but he really is scared and he really wants to be there for his wife and unborn child.
Sure, I'm just saying like their chances of success go up with 2 versus 1.
Yeah, but there's like an unnecessary risk to Tommy, even though that almost diminishes how severe we think the situation is, I guess, if he's not willing to put that on the line to potentially save humanity. I don't know. It's a good question. And it could definitely could have helped with a bunch of things that are going to be coming up. For sure. But
and that's a small quibble. Like, it wouldn't be the first time that thematically, like we decided, well, no, it's got to be me. But it's like, you were going to do it. So like, why not just do it? Plus, like, you get to catch up with your brother who you haven't seen in years and all that. Like, there's any number of reasons.
Yeah, their relationship is great. I love what they've done with those two characters and like their interaction at the bar. And they're like, obviously they miss each other and they love each other, but they definitely have like brothers butting head moments that are so like real. Like they've casted this show so well. They've written it so well. They like everything about it is coming together. In just this incredible form. I could not be happier with the execution to this point.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty damn well polished.
I am so excited to see how they pull off the ending of the game on the screen and like what they're gonna do. And I'm not spoiling. I'm not gonna say anything about it. I'm just like I can't wait to see how like it's so crazy. Like what's gonna go down.
It's obvious that this is in the Planet of the Apes connected universe because of the Colorado State monkeys.
That's right. But, oh man, it's bananas. We're gonna get a dip away from.
No, you can't follow up my joke with it's gonna be bananas.
Oh, I tried to go right past it. That's great. We are going to get a lull in the next episode from that core storyline to do some.
I figured this was going to be big time coma / dream / taking care of someone episode, like bottle episode type of thing.
Backfill Ellie's story, which is cool. Speaking of which, I never finished the DLC, and Brian told me it should only take me about an hour, so I might try to knock it out before Sunday.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, I've got nothing else. This show is great. The episode was like, it was cool, like like to see different characters. I think I like the introduction of Tommy's wife and their kid, and like a little bit about their relationship, and obviously like her being a little off put by Joel arriving because she knows Tommy's history, because Tommy's like explained it to her. Like that's all of that is like super tense, and like it's like, oh, there's a big elephant in the room that we don't want to talk about, but like it's Joel. But it's I don't know, it's really compelling. It's just it's so I feel like the relationships and the way that they play them out they're just so real, which is funny for like a post-apocalyptic thing that like no one's ever experienced. Like for them to actually like, it makes sense, right? Humans are still going to be humans in this time, so like to like to capture that essence in their relationships is just fantastic. And that's the last word
On The Last of Us.
on The Last of Us.